Chapter 260 The Ritual of Healing. Another big thank you to Merker1 and Julian Weber. You guys are the reason why this is going good. The Wiki. https://dragonborn-saga. Fandom. com/wiki/dragonborn_saga_ novel_wiki. In the next 2 days, Alina and I made a lot of experiments. At first, I traveled to Darkwater Crossing and started catching mice. It was hard to find healthy ones, but as there was a farm, there is surely a good band of mice, and who is better than a master mouse catcher like Nefertiti to catch those pesky little things? As we returned the mice to Alina, she started examining them and cutting parts of their bodies to study how their astral bodies react to be mended and destroyed. The poor mice almost went extinct because of us. We then moved from mice to large animals. We were not using the size of the animal as a factor, but the type of the soul itself. There are souls from petty to grand, and all were different from each other. At the 10th day, we started the inhumane human trails on Bandit. The thing is, we kept it all away from Julliner to not give her false hope in case, if things went not as we expected. We just wanted to be her nice family and all. Still, we faced a problem. Energy. Even though we live in a world with free energy called Magicka, it sometimes is not enough and we need to harness more resources to make Magicka. The only way we can do so is by looking for a place abundant with Magicka, and lo and behold, we actually live in a one. The Elder Gleam Sanctuary houses the oldest living being in Tamriel, and that is the Elder Gleam tree itself. The tree listens to Alina and can lend her power as long as Alina is close to the tree, but I am not sure how will that work. If it can't be recorded on data in front of me and all can be calculated in a scientific fashion, I feel like I am losing my touch. And that's why I always said you have a faith problem, Alina said. I know. I have faith in numbers more than some whimsical original spirits that like to pose as gods. I am sure that you were a Dwemer in that past life of yours. Guess who is the greatest scientific race ever since the First Era? Guess who got themselves to disappear from this world with a poof? The only salt between me and Alina is religion. I respect what others believe in, but I have my own opinion of God. Even the original spirits don't call themselves gods, so what wrong did I say? I respect the original spirits and understand them for what they really are, the egos that represent the forces of natures. I am not even wrong. The Psijic Order viewed its own guidance to the world as a way to not let the mortals empower the malevolent original spirits. A book called The Old Ways said, "We recognize the multiple threats that a strong tyrant represents, breeds cruelty which feeds the Daedra Bothia and hatred which feeds the Daedra Vernima. If he should die having performed a particularly malevolent act, he may go to rule in oblivion, and worst of all, he inspires other villains to thirst after power and other rulers to embrace villainy. The notion of God in my eyes is more almighty than beings that feed on the feelings of mortals. The difference between my point of view and the Dwemer is that I don't scorn the original spirits or see them as rivals. On the contrary, I respect both Edra and Daedra as the manifested egos of the natural forces. One can think of Sheogorath as madness itself in the form of a man, and so is every original spirit. Back to my argument with Alina, we agreed on using her powers of kinds favored to heal Julliner. This night was a full moon and Nefertiti chose to stay in the form of a large cat. The amount of ways she can change herself into now is actually weird. I always ask myself if she is still a cat, but I find it very offending in the end. How can such a fluff come from a being other than a cat? Anyway, I was sitting with Jull in the middle of the sanctuary and I told her about what we were working on this few days. Still, she wasn't surprised. How do I say this? I just had a feeling you guys were doing something important for me. You would always say these unfathomable words to each other and everything turns to numbers and magic theories, and I don't understand a single word. But you guys were always looking at me like you wanted to say something, so I figured out that you would come clean sooner or later. Oh, I love it when she is a thoughtful girl. We are starting. Alina came down from the summit of the Elder Gleam sanctuary. She was, how do I say this, dressed in some sort of fashion I am not really into. It was a mix of wolf skin dress, hawk feathers and bear claws accessories, and a circlet made of flowers. She was also holding a staff made of an old tree and hand drum. What is all that? My stuff, she said. You look like a druid. That's what I am going to do actually, druidism. I want to say it makes sense but it doesn't. Anyway, it seems that Alina will draw strong energy from nature that way. How do we start? I asked. Just get ready with the needles and follow my pace. Joel, you drink this, Alina said as she gave Joel a wineskin to drink from. Cheers, PFT. What is that? Joel took the wineskin and drank from it before spitting out half of what she drank. Wine and tree sap, Alina said. Blah. Say that it tastes like this before I drink it. Just lie down now. Alina pushed Joel on the ground and started preparing her things. She started by going around Joel in circles and tapping with her staff on the ground. She then started singing in a language I am not really familiar with, and tree roots started to grow beneath and around Joel. It looked so strange that I kept watching the strange magic happening in front of me with curiosity, but I never figured it out at all. The tree roots that grew beneath Jelena started carrying her up. It was akin to a bed made of branches, but it was really alive and don't know what to say. The tree bed rose almost half a meter up until it stopped. Jelena was a bit dizzy from the mixture Alina gave to her and started dozing off. Was that a crucial part of the process? I asked Alina. No. I was just showing off, but it rather felt appropriate to do. That's why I don't like religious stuff in this world. No one is sure of what they are doing to begin with. Sigh. Hand me the needles. I gave the box to her and she started a fire on top of her staff. She started to heat the needle for a short instant and carefully stuck them under Joel's skin. She finished with all the points we needed to link and I started to check on them. I used a small light-emitting screen as a scrying medium and checked all the needles' locations on Joel's astral body and how they are matched on the physical body. It was a delicate process, but it would give us the peace of mind needed for the next step and ensure that we are doing nothing wrong. No problem here, go ahead. Alina nodded and started to draw power from nature, or rather, she started beating the drum with her staff while singing in that weird language. When I thought it was just that, Alina started making animal sounds. It started with the wolf, then some kind of birds, the something that sounded like a monkey, even though there are no monkeys around Skyrim, then a horse. Well, she started making weird sounds over and over again while beating the drum, and I was trying to guess what animals were they. Wait, weren't we just trying to heal Joel? I was really about to say something, but I started sensing it. A large flow of energy was coming from the surroundings, rushing towards the center of the rituals. John, try to contain that energy and handle it yourself. I still think we need more. Fine. I started to act too. With the screen in front of me, I started containing the energy and channeling it through the needles. The mithril was indeed the perfect material to supply energy through, and I was unhindered by it, but I found it hard to contain such a pool of energy with my own. The energy Alina could summon was really potent and strong, enough to cause me another astral damage like the one I had a year ago. The process of reconstructing the astral body of Jelena was done by observing the condition of her other eye and trying to sculpt another astral formation over the other side by arranging the acupuncture points and the energy channels with the energy I am gaining, while trying to hold it all in place and reconstruct the damaged parts. All was going well until I noticed a weird activity in my Haven cube, in Space 51. Where do I keep the contained stuff? The container that was housing the shadow material, greed, started to react strongly to the natural energy from outside the cube. That being was actually trying to break through the containment and jump out of the cube's space. You motherfucker! Do you think I will allow you? I cussed at it, but I had no time to deal with it at all. Nefertiti, take the ring. Greed is going to break free, take it away and contain it. Bad black thing? Homen, give me. Nefertiti, who was watching from far away, came running in her beast form and took the cube. She then ran outside the sanctuary with it. Will Nefertiti be okay? Alina asked. She will. She can channel energy directly from me, so she will be able to stop it on her own. I was busy trying to fix Jul's astral body, and I had to take my time, no matter what happened in the world right now. I even started to use the energy much faster, and Alina was having a hard time keeping up with me. We are almost done here, I said. Yes, all we need to do is to heal the wound that will open anytime soon. On Joliner's left eye, blood started to flow out. This is because of the unmatching that occurred between the astral and the physical bodies. It is your turn now. I am going after Nefertiti, I said as I switched places with Alina. We were already in the safe process where we only had to keep healing the wound to match the physical body with the new changes on the astral body. It is a smooth process, and the best to do it is Alina. I regained my power by a magica potion and started running towards the sanctuary's entrance. Chapter 261 Greed. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. I ran toward the entrance of the Elder Gleam sanctuary and tried to sense Nefertiti's location. I don't know why, but she seemed to have gone to the east. I could only conjure a flame Atronak hawk and try to look for her from the sky. The sky was a bit dark and I could only use night vision to scout the land below me. I felt Nefertiti's energy in a place not far from me, and I rallied to it immediately. What met me was two large black cats fighting each other. Perfect. Now which is which? Nefertiti. Yes, Homen. And it was neither. Nefertiti just popped up beside me in her human form. I looked between the large shadow cats and her trying to figure out what was going on. It escaped from the cube, then mimic my form to escape from me. Wait. Greed can mimic forms? Nefertiti nodded. Okay, you need to tell me what happened from the beginning. When John and Alina were working on the astral body of Joliner, Nefertiti was watching from the side. She was a bit worried about the passed down Joliner, but she had her own problems in a full moon's night. During the process, John told her to take the Haven Cube and run outside the sanctuary. It seemed that the dark matter that he calls greed is trying to break free from the containment. It is weird as that thing was acting very docile lately, and the energy that John gave him. Nefertiti took the cube and started running outside the sanctuary, then chose a place as far from people as possible, so she ran towards the geyser pools of Eastmarch. Once she reached far enough, Greed actually managed to break the containment chest and jumped out of the cube. Nefertiti was taken aback by the ability of Greed and how it jumped out of the cube's space so easily. The only explanation she can think of is that this being is very reliant on John's energy. Not just that, it became the only energy that Greed can recognize and fear. There is only one being with that same property, and that was her. John explained that she is an extension of his power, and she can draw energy directly from him, but it seemed that there is another being that shares that quality too. But if that's the case, that being shouldn't act hostile towards John, so maybe was that being trying to do something for John. Nefertiti didn't act with hostility towards the formless dark matter in front of her, and just stared at it quietly. Greed started to change its form bit by bit from a humanoid to some undefined creatures until it fixed itself to the same shape as Nefertiti. With that shape, Greed tried to move to someplace between the geyser pools and finally arrived at where it was seeking. Nefertiti was following it and also saw what Greed wanted. There, between the geyser pools, a strange phenomenon occurred. A shadowy anomaly was forming as if a black hole was opening itself on Nirn. In the center of the anomaly, A strange weapon was taking an obscure shape that kept changing from a sword to an axe to other unrecognizable forms. Greed saw the anomaly and dashed towards it. The anomaly didn't just stand still, and from it, another figure emerged. It was also another large black cat. Oh, meow! Nefertiti was sick of how many things started to copy her graceful form and shifted into the human form right away. She was pouting and wanted to beat those two insolent shadow beings into shape, but they soon started fighting, so she sat down to watch. Around 20 minutes later, John showed up and seemed to have noticed Nefertiti because of the two weird large cats that were engaged in a fight. So that happened? I wondered while keeping an eye on the fight that was still on. Yes. A shadowy anomaly that has a weapon in its center and sent out a doppelganger to fight Greed. I can only think of one thing. Shadowrend. A Daedric weapon of shadows originated from Sheogoratha's Shivering Isles. It comes from the shadow doppelgangers who attacks whoever comes near it. When the doppelganger is defeated, Shadowrend can be claimed, and it has the ability to change its form too. How can it do that? No idea. Why is Greed fighting Shadowrend? Damn if I know. Why would Shadowrend appear here? Well, that's an easy question. It came from a mod, an official Creation Club mod. Anyway, Greed and its doppelganger battled fiercely, but it seemed that Greed is not accustomed to fighting at all. It is putting a measurable act. What is that thing doing? It should use its formless body and devour its opponent. I said as I was showing my disapproval, but something weird happened. Greed, as if it has listened to me, turned itself into a formless orb and shot towards the other shadow figure, then started to devour it. Good. I was taken aback. It is strange how that dark matter started listening. It didn't take much after that for a Greed to prevail and extinguish its doppelganger. Once it did that, it didn't just sit still, it charged at the shadowy anomaly and started devouring it too. Hey, idiot! That is a good weapon, what are you doing? I ran towards Greed. That was in the middle of devouring the shadowy anomaly. I frankly didn't know what to do with it and how to separate two formless entities from each other, but before I even act, it was already over. Greed fell on the ground and the shadowy anomaly itself was devoured. I knew it liked any energy related to the shadows, but did it really manage to devour a Daedric artifact? Goddamn! What are you? I looked at the Greed and tried to interact with it, but it seemed to be in the middle of digesting whatever it devoured just now. It is a bit weird, but I think I got my hands on something really unusual. I think it is trying to help you, human, Nefertiti said. She then started explaining how Greed is connected to me and how it also draws energy from me like her. I guess you are right. Does that mean I have authority over it now? I asked myself as I pondered over the situation. Hey, come to my hand. I ordered Greed and opened my hand. With my words, Greed jumped happily on my palm like a plump ball. Hee, this thing is so much fun. What else can you do? I asked it. With my question, Greed changed its form into a sword. A jet black longsword. It even felt like a bland three-dimensional model with no textures or decorations. Still, once I thought of textures and decorations, Greed started to define itself more. Nice. Can you become an axe? And it did. A hammer, a mace, a dagger. It did them all. Wow. You can change your size, but what about the weight and the mass? I started to experiment and it was really acting well. One thing I noticed was that Greed was using some of my magicka to act, especially when I increased its mass. It took a chunk of magicka. System, can you analyze that? Subject's material, unknown. Subject is a soul, a matter and an energy. A three-dimensional manifestation that got its soul altered by the host to be a part of it. Huh! I saw a lot of words I recognized but did not understand, yet when I read them again. Are you saying it is a part of me? Like a limb I grew? Acquired, not grew. So, greed is a part of me, but it can go haywire and act on its own. I did not tell it to go and devour the shadowy anomaly or jump out from containment. You basically wanted it to show potential, and as the dominant over it, it acts based on your reflexes, just like a new part of the body you haven't learned to use yet. Okay, smartass. Send that data to the augur. Tell him that I don't want to call myself Venom and go bite people heads off anytime soon. Confirmed. I shook away the weird ideas in my head and turned around to return to the sanctuary. Still, greed, or whatever part of me it became now, is freaking me out, yet it is really cool. Form a sword. I commanded it, and it did become a sword. I held it in front of me, then used my aura with it. As I swung it left and right, it started unleashing red ribbons of my aura too, just like Bloodskull. This is fun. That ability is not bound to Bloodskull now. I can imbue weapons to make them act like Bloodskull whenever I want, and greed is no exception. I commanded it again, and it changed into a shield, then to a long chain with a hawk. Such an all-purpose weapon. I was happy with it, even though I am not understanding it really well. A weird thought came to my mind then. Form a blaster. As greed turned into a blaster, I condensed my aura in its muzzle and made it blast inside it. My red-colored aura was shot out of the muzzle and made a deep hole in the rock it landed on. Cool. With that, I have a red lightsaber, a Sith mask, and a blaster. Now, where do they host Comic-Con in Tamriel? Human, many people are going towards the sanctuary. What? Nefertiti's voice woke me from my fantasies. There is a fight, she said. Chapter 262, Kill the Witches. The extra that was promised, you monsters. Normally, I don't get angry. Even if I want to show anger, I mostly fake it and use it as a purpose to do something unreasonable. But now I am blinded with anger. Why on Nirn would anyone try to attack Alina and Jelinar in such a crucial moment? I couldn't figure it out, but whoever that is, they are going to pay. After Nefertiti noticed the intruders with malicious intentions, I instantly teleported back in front of the sanctuary. I was carrying Nefertiti in hand and greed on the other. Once I appeared, I saw a few women in black blocking the entrance to the sanctuary. They were frightened once they saw me, but they set out a barrier ward in front of themselves and blocked the entrance right away. Where did you come from? You have no business here, leave. The women spoke with clear hostility, but they seemed trying not to fight. I only looked at them and determined what they are. I have seen your kind before. Witches. Witches are no ordinary magic users. They are practitioners of the dark magic, vile, unholy, and twisted. Some call them witches and some call them hags. Not to be confused with Hagravens. By seeing witches in this place, I could already figure out the situation. They sensed the natural energy Alina drew from the sanctuary and came for it. That is what they are after all. The witches tend to attack the places where Spriggans reside to harvest their taproot. The witches noticed the change in my aura and realized that a fight is unavoidable. If you move away from the entrance, I will kill you fast. I was too nice to give them a warning. Insolent fool, die. A witch acted first and cast a fireball towards me. I was clearly unfazed and only transformed greed into a whip, canceling the fireball from afar. With the next swing, I added a blade to the end of the whip and broke through the barrier and injured the 3 witches without killing them. I don't have time to kill you slowly, but that will do it, I said as I conjured a Dremora. Out with it, mortal. As haughty as ever, the Dremora that appeared from the void was talking with disdain. Kill those 3, slowly. I give him a command and walked through the sanctuary's entrance. Hee, interesting mortal. As I walked in, I started hearing screaming behind me, so I reckon the Dremora is doing its job. The tunnel to the inner sanctum of the sanctuary only took me a few seconds. Once I arrived, I got even angrier than what I already am. A band of witches was fighting a number of Spriggans on the first bridge to the sanctuary. The one leading the witches was a Hagraven, a being uglier than whatever anyone can think of, horrifying, almost human but more an abomination of woman and crow fused together, nothing more than a husk of humanity surrendered in exchange for possession of the powers of dark magic. They have clawed feet and hands and feathers growing out of their forearms, and they also carry all sorts of diseases on them, especially brain rot. That Hagraven was standing behind the other witches while casting powerful destruction spells at the Spriggans that protect the sanctuary. I looked somewhere else looking for Alina and Julinar to discover that Alina was protecting the healing ritual with a cocoon of hard wooden roots, but seemed unable to help the Spriggans. The Hagraven was looking at Alina with greed in its eyes and seemed to be evoking a spell. I didn't know what spell, but seeing a black soul gem in the Hagraven's claws meant nothing good. No, you won't. I cast the chain lightning as fast as I could, and I splendidly struck the Hagraven, but it seemed that it won't go down with just that. The important part is that the attention of the witches is on me now. Insolent! He attacked the crone. Kill him! Drain his blood dry! They just can't stop being stereotype evildoers, can they? Okay, Greed. Time to put your power to test. Just as I thought of unleashing the best of what Greed has to offer, it suddenly jumped from my left hand to my right and started devouring Bloodskull. I had no reaction whatsoever, other than the urge to puke blood, but I was instantly proven wrong. Greed was not devouring Bloodskull, it was merging with it like. It made Bloodskull longer and more sinister. Bloodskull became almost 3 meters tall and really wide. I was not sure what is going on here, but the sight of the Hagraven made me be assured that I am still reincarnated in Skyrim, not Devil May Cry. Well, let's see what this bad boy can do. I unleashed my aura and put on my mask Krylon. With the greedy Bloodskull on my hands, I charged forward at the witches. One swing, 5 dead. The residual energy of the slash made the space behind it feel unstable, but I already knew it would do that. Once the witches passed through that unstable space, it silenced their magicka. Another 5 dead. This is a quality of the shadow magic that Greed possesses. Shadow magic is devastating towards energies. It can drain both vitality and magicka at a crazy rate. It also can ravage the energies inside the targets and make them unable to use magic. As I thought, Greed is awesome. While I was admiring Greed for a second, spells of all kinds flew at me. Greed that reacts based on my reflexes let go of Bloodskull and formed a shield to protect me. Its defense against magic was almost like a cheat. That thing that spent a whole month getting hammered by my magicka is now akin to a magicka black hole. Fine, keep protecting me while I go all out. Greed attached itself to my shoulders and blocked everything thrown at me. I brandished Bloodskull and started swinging it madly around with my right, unleashing ribbons of aura towards the witches. My left was casting magic on a fast pace too. From Electrohand to Thunder Cookie to Telekinesis and Bind to Corpse Explosion and Holy Smite. I went from Electromancer to Pyromancer, from Alteration to Illusion and from Sun Magic to Necromancy. After causing a bloody mess and slaughtering the whole coven of witches, I was facing the Hagraven face to face. Curse you! Curse you! Curse you! You will pay for this! Her anger was clear with that hoarse voice she spoke with, but I was going out for slaughter no matter what she did. She unleashed all the magicka she can muster and cast a bolt of dark magic at me. I didn't need to understand the magic to know how dangerous it is. This must be Crystal Shard, a devastating spell. I took out Greed to my left hand and reformed it into a blaster, then shot the magic with my aura. The destructive power of my aura with the shadowy nature of Greed was enough to put that magic down. The exchange between me and the Hagraven didn't last long. She tried to bind me using the dark magic again, but I let Greed devour that magic. She then tried to sneak attack me by a spell under my feet, but I stuck Bloodskull into the ground and devastated whatever that was. Curse you! Her last card seemed to be a strong spell that started to heal her and restore her magicka at the same time. Such a broken spell must be part of the deal she had with the higher powers when she transformed herself into a monstrosity. I couldn't afford to fall short and also called upon the higher power on my side. Allmaker. The root of power, the blessing I had from the Allmaker, was activated and my magicka started coming back on a crazy pace. Between the root of power and the dark exchange, it was clear who is superior. I only overpowered the Hegraven with raw magicka, and that was enough to break her spell and cause a backlash. She was struck on her knees while trying to run away using her abnormally long limbs. You are not getting anywhere. I blocked her path and raised Bloodskull to behead the Hegraven, but she shot up all of a sudden and slashed at me with her other claws. I merely swung my sword and cut both her arms. Gah! Curse you! Curse you! These are your last words? I didn't want to hear any more and just beheaded the damn thing. As I got rid of the vermin, I teleported towards Alina right away. Her face was a bit pale, and there was a thin line of blood coming from her mouth. My head almost went numb, but she raised her hand to calm me down. I just overused some energy for the sake of defense. Nothing touched me. She said so, but I was already in the state of going insane. There was no one to vent it on, and it would be wrong to act recklessly, so I just had to suppress it. Go and rest. Leave the ritual to me. I handed Alina some meds and took over her place. She was already in the last process, and I could finish that on my own. It took me 10 minutes to put the last touches on Juliner's astral body, and poured half of my magicka into healing her physical body. All that is left now is to wait for Jul's natural recovery to work on its own. Her golden hazel right eye was reacting well, while she was unconscious, and her left eye shouldn't be touched for the time being. As I finished, I put a bandage on her left eye that started giving out tears. This was a sign of recovery, and the light screen showed no wrong behavior. It is over, she will wake up on her own now, Alina said as she seemed to have recovered too. I am sorry. I shouldn't have. Shush. We wouldn't let you stay while Nefertiti was out there anyway. Okay. It was a bit angry at myself for not being there while those abominations attacked Alina and Jul. Still, look at that mess you made. It would take us ages to clean all that. Alina pointed at the bodies of the witches I killed. Limbs and heads were everywhere. I really went all out on a bunch of hags. Sigh. I will make a fire and burn all that. I was about to stand up and do so before Alina stopped me. Just kidding, it won't take me a second to get rid of them. She spoke calmly and cast a few spells on the trees around the area. Roots shot up from the ground and started entombing the Hegravens and the witches in the ground. They were being encased in roots and pulled down. It was kinda scary. Even the beautiful nature has its dark sides, you know. These sinners will serve in death as fertilizers for the grove. Alina said. I see. Alina did not only made the grove consume the dead witches and clean the mess I made, but she also used the remaining magic we gathered to revive the Spriggans that were killed by the witches. Her druidic magic was really on a whole different level from the lame things I read about it. This is not something that Nurina teaches, so I watched carefully and asked a lot of questions. Anyway, how did those witches find out about our ritual? I asked. Not sure, being the Sibyl of Kine is hard on its own, let alone having enemies with enemies of the god. They must have made their coven near the area. I will report that to the Guardians of the Grove or the Vigilance of Stender. Both will hunt witches to the ends of Nirn if they could. I nodded and didn't say much. I was still feeling angry about leaving them alone, even though I would be still angry if I didn't go after Nefertiti. My head was messy for a while, but sitting beside Alina, who rested her head on me, gave me some peace. Homen, she woke up. Nefertiti's voice woke me from my doze and I shot up right away. Alina also shot up as fast as me. We looked back to the Root's bed where Juliner was lying to find her sitting on the bed while looking at us. One eye is golden hazel. One eye is violet blue. Chapter 263 Gleam. Big thanks to Jack of Grin on PayPal. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra chapter. 8,000 vote. Do you feel okay? You can walk? John. Yes, John. It is my eye, not my leg. Joel. You can see well, right? How many fingers do I have? Alina. Everyone has 10 fingers, Alina. Joel. Do I look fluffier than before? Nefertiti. Yes, Nefertiti. You actually do. Joel. Don't worry, Homan. She sees good. Nefertiti. You really are as smug as John. Alina. Homan and I are great at everything. Nefertiti. Except modesty. We are too great, but we are not perfect. John. Okay, my eye actually hurts. Joel. What? No, it is the right one. The left one is actually good. The three let out a sigh of relief. They still never expected that Jelinek would have a heterochromia case in her eyes, but that's nothing to be worried about. Apparently, she didn't have it before, but when John and Alina restored the astral form of her left eye, they neglected to focus on the eye colors. Still, Jelinek herself was excited about it. She started comparing the two eyes on a mirror all the time with all smiles. So, we are all done here, John said. Yes. Everything is done, I guess that goes with our vacation. Alina said. No, we are not ending the vacation. It has been 2 weeks already. Do you have anything else to do here? We are going south. South. Yes, south. Riften south. You are taking us to Riften? Yes, I actually missed that stinky town. Ever been there? No, but I heard stories. Thieves, smugglers, serial killers, creepy people. Well, you don't need to worry about those rumors. These are just the start of what Riften has to offer. Oh, great. Just kidding. I am friends with a serial killer though. He was trying to eat me ever since I was 12, but he never caught me. Okay. Let's back up then. To Riften. John seemed excited. Yay, but only John alone. As the four picked up their things at dawn, they cleaned up the place after them and started packing up their luggage. John and Alina retrieved the stuff they left in their secret cave to after a round of flirting then headed out from the Elder Gleam sanctuary with the rest heading south. After they left the sanctuary, a figure appeared in the cave behind the Elder Gleam tree. They finally left. Those mortals were really scary. The figure that appeared in the cave was that of a pretty woman, so pretty that she can put any other world in the world to shame. She was mostly naked and moved as if she is an ethereal being out of this world. Her actions and movements were so delicate and shy, a strong aura of Anuic energy could also be felt around her. As she rose from the water pool in the hidden cave, she started to look around the place and sighed. Those two young mortals acted too lively in my place. They did annoying mortal things here and there, but at least they cleaned the place. The woman who is apparently not a human or an elf floated in the air and checked her cave carefully. She then flew out of the cave and came towards the Elder Gleam tree. She checked the tree carefully and felt its trunk to check its cleanliness. A few absurd mortals this time. It looks like a fight happened her with some evildoers. They also defended the place and revived the kids. How thoughtful of them! The woman landed on top of a branch on the Elder Gleam tree and sat on it. The branch didn't move at all, as if the woman had no weight to begin with. The woman looked up through the gap in the cave which sunlight shines from and spoke to it. You can come in. Following her words, a gust of wind descended through the opening and kept blowing around the tree. It politely slowed down and reached a state of stillness in front of the tree, becoming a small aura of cold light. It has been a while, Elder Gleam, a voice spoke to the woman sitting on the tree. It has been indeed, young Ayula. I was roaming recently and came to notice that you woke up. Something troubling you? Not at all. Can't I wake up every once in a while? Was it your late visitors? Should I go after them? Ayula spoke, cutting the words of Gleam. Do shut up, dear. You will get yourself killed if you do so. Wah, these are some mortals, very young at that. I don't think there is anyone among them over 50 years of age. They are what mortal call babies. Ayula's pride was hurt. She seemed to have an aggressive nature rather different than Gleam, who seemed tranquil and calm. Sigh. One of us is guarding them. Gleam made a tired face. One of us? Who? Your daughter Gilder? She involves herself with humans way too much and never listens. She will consume herself soon. Ayula kept talking and complaining. Gleam made a tired face and just looked away. It is not Gildergreen, it is another one, a new child. Even the talkative Ayula came to a halt with words. She stared an elder Gleam for a while before asking. A newborn. How is that? I have never seen any young ones growing up to be called a newborn. I am roaming all over the place and I know everyone. Who is the little greenie? Ayula seemed flustered. It is not a little greenie. Ayula was taken aback. It is a little black. Gleam smiled. I don't understand. Ayula made a dumb response. Sigh. Its origins are of a beast, a young black cat. Aha, I see. Ayula seemed to have finally understood. But I have never felt it at all. There was no signal. Was because of your presence? Ayula asked. No, I hid my presence and returned in my body at that. Gleam patted at the tree. It is mostly because of the presence of that mortal. Oh, you mean that strong presence. It wasn't that big, but it was really suffocating once I got near it. I felt like I was going to be seen through, so I waited until the mortals left. Same here. I kept to myself and gave them the place. That human mortal was really a league of his own. His nature was so tyrannical. Oh, to be acknowledged by Elder Gleam, I see why you said I shouldn't go near them. Exactly, he shielded the other two mortals from the evildoers on his own. He just stormed through the entrance and just started waving his sword and magic around, so amazing. Gleam was waving her arms and acting like John. Oh yes. Mortals out there do that all the time. You can come outside once and watch it for yourself. Maybe one day. I saw that mortal once some time ago when I first sobered up and he exchanged some energy with me. I didn't think he would be this different in so short time. Oh, what about the others? Are they ordinary or special mortals? The other two are a bit different. One of them is a regular in my place with a northern scent, seemed to be one of North Wind's people. Her fate is strong too. She could communicate with me and borrow some power to heal the other mortal. I see, the ones they call druids? What about the third mortal? Ayula asked. Gleam made a sad face. Mixed blood, weak fate, too thin. Just like Gildergreen. I see. Ayula seemed to feel Gleam's depression and tried to change the subject. Enough with mortals now. We learned there is a newborn from bestial origins. We haven't seen that in ages in our parts. You are right, there are many of them, however, south of Dawn's Beauty. Gleam said. Right, that makes me excited. So, what else out there in the world? Gleam asked. Nothing much, mortals fighting mortals, evildoers coming and going. The world is a mess and the Heist are keeping to themselves as usual. Nothing unusual then. There is more, Ayula said. Oh, go on. Some mortal evildoers are apparently acting against the towers. Are they mortal elves? Who else do you think? Sigh. This may not end well for everyone. Who else is aware? Aelia of the West is having speculations on her own. She thinks that trouble would arrive at her door. Ayula said. Yes, she lives close to a tower. Well, it is all up to mortals in the end. I believe there are those who are aware of the tower's threat. If some mortals act against the remaining towers, then others will rise. I agree with you, Elder Gleam, Ayula said. Gleam and Ayula started talking from a subject to subject. As long as there is no mortal to interrupt them, their conversation may last for months. That was how their nature is, mysterious and unpredictable. A week later, in front of the gates of Riften. Oh, the stench. Inhale, exhale, this is Riften. Daddy's home, bitches. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Chapter 264, Catatoskr 1. Homecoming. Big thanks to Joshua Burns on Patreon. Now I have 4 extra chapters, one have to publish, goddamn. Extra chapter, every plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra chapter, 8,000 vote. The past 3 years, the ruler of Riften, Jarl Lael Lawgiver, was having a peaceful time ruling her hold. Rather than the messengers of Ulfric Stormcloak and the few criminals she has to deal with, it was all easy. But on this very day, all peace went away. What is the reason? One may ask. The answer took all the people 3 years to the past, a reign of terror they forgot, or rather tried to forget. It was him. The man. The myth. The legend. The Red Cat, Catatoskr. A name the whole Riften tried to bury and successfully stopped the rumors from spreading outside the hold, else, the rumors would put them to shame for many years to come. How did they know it was him? They all wanted to believe otherwise, but there was his sign, the black card with a red cat drawing. Some of those who heard about this argued that it might be a troublemaker's work, but no, when a Catatoskr card appears it happens after something big, and that is always an absurd crime. Yes, that was Catatoskr's style, absurd crimes. Too absurd to comprehend. How he did it and why he returned what he stole every time. That is why Catatoskr is only wanted alive to explain himself. But right now, and because of today's card, the market square was empty and guards were on every corner. The people hid in their homes and peeked through the windows. It was not night, it was in the middle of noon and the busiest hour in Riften. But now the market square was as empty as a tavern with no liquor. Why is that? Well, it is hard to put in words, but the whole market square was stolen. Yes, just like that. 1 second there was many people buying and selling, and on the next second everything vanished from goods to stalls. Only the people remained. And what also remained was the question on people's mind: how did this happen? They all started to remember the events when Catatoskr shocked the whole town, and people in the Bee and Barb Tavern started saying which one was more terrifying. It is today's time. He goes away for 3 years and now it happens like that in front of everyone's eyes. Exactly. You know who has gotten more powerful, it happened where there are people this time. But do you remember that time when he stole the temple's bell? Yeah, it was similar to today, something vanishes just like that, crazy? Do you think that is something compared to that one time? That time? Yes, the city gates time. Shut up, no one wants to remember that time. That's because it is the most terrifying. You know who stole the damned city gate, a city gate for the beard of Talos. This is insane. Brigands may have taken over the town because of that. Don't remind us. Fine, but you should remember the time when we found a ship in the middle of the market square. You mean Bori's ship? Ah yes, that one was bad too. Poor Bori. He was pale the whole day. No, I can't believe you forgot the time when he stole the Jarl's voice, that was insane. Yeah, I was there. Jarl Lela was making a speech and her voice didn't work all of a sudden, then she found a card of you-know-who. What about that time? No, that time. There is that time too. The argument never ended. From the market square to the temple's bell to Bori's ship to the city gate to the Jarl's voice. Catatoskr was so infamous to the point that saying his name was something really scary on its own. During all that, a man came running into the tavern. The market stalls, the goods that all came back again. Yeah. The gloomy mood of the tavern turned all cheerful at once, but the people became silent once again. You mean you know who returned the things he stole once again to where they were? They didn't find the stuff or understand how he does it. No, just like every time. Damn it. He is still out there doing God knows what and just mocking us while our city guards can't even locate one man. Tsk. Let's just get back to our businesses, this town is no match for him anyway. The disappointment was clear as no one managed to stop the legendary Catatoskr just yet. No one even knows what kind of a person he is he a man, a mare or a beast? A male or female? A living person or a ghost? Right now, the common belief is that Catatoskr is the ghost of a Khajiit legendary thief, yet no one is able to confirm that anyway. However, what the people fail to notice that each time Catatoskr strikes, a new change happens in town, a change for the better. Right now, Riffin's market square became heavily guarded and the Jarl appointed a new guards team to watch over the market. How and why did that happen? Well, that takes us a few hours to the morning when John arrived in the town. He was wearing a cloak and hood and so did Alina and Jull. Oh, the stench. Inhale exhale this is Riften. Daddy's home, bitches. Lower your voice. Alina poked John. Oh sorry. Got a bit excited. Next, the inspection officer on the town's gate called out. It's our turn. Julliner stepped forward. Before she reaches the officer, a large Argonian jumped into the line before her. Sorry, sweet thing. In a hurry. The Argonian said. Hey, Julliner was about to lash but John held her shoulder. Don't make a scene. He said then looked at the Argonian. You'll owe me a drink, lizard. Hee whatever. The Argonian seemed to be not intimidated enough and looked away but then, he felt a cold chill and looked over his shoulder to see John's face closer than he thought it would be. With his blue eyes devoid of their bright color, John spoke again. You will. The Argonian was taken aback, but he released a strong aura not expected from a random person one just crossed by. John too was releasing his tyrant aura on a small scale to only affect the Argonian. A while later, both broke into a hearty laugh. Sure, I owe you a whole barrel, the Argonian said. Good to know. If you find me though. He said so and passed through the gate after the inspection guard allowed him in. John kept looking at the large Argonian with a grin. Even though the Argonian had a large body, he disappeared after he passed the gate like melting ice. I will find you though. John looked at the inspection officer and threw a wooden tablet to him. A citizen, I don't recognize you though, oh. Go in. Cheers. John walked through the gate without any trouble followed by Alina and Julliner. It was strange of you not to lash out, Alina said. This is not Winterhold where I own the tiles on the road, so you two should act quietly around here, unless there is a fight of course. Okay. While John and the girls advanced through the town streets, there was nothing particularly good about it. It was rather worse than the new Winterhold town. Most of the buildings were made of wood and they had that rotten smell, even the streets were not that clean. Beggars and homeless people were lying on the roadsides and ruffians were staring at Alina and Julliner rudely. John would sigh every once in a while then give someone a death glare causing the ruffians to move away. There was a weird language spoken in Riften, only someone like John would understand its content. When one glance at the other then they keep pointing with their eyes, this means trouble is coming. John would interrupt those stares and intimidate whoever is thinking willfully. Not just that, he would even intimidate with his hands if someone got close to him. A few boys tried to step in front of Alina but John carried one of them from the nape of his neck and threw him in a hidden alleyway causing the other boys to run away like rat. This place is a bit fun. You should be extra careful about your surroundings, he said. Alina and Julliner nodded silently. They didn't expect crime to be this all-time high. Even someone as visible as John was targeted this openly. What would happen if someone else was in his place? They thought. I haven't been in town for some time so they don't recognize me and I don't know these new faces. Once we reach the inner city, we should be properly welcomed, he said. Alina and Jelinar looked at each other again. That was not proper enough? They asked. This is not even a thing. They think of us as some reckless rich people. It is not wrong though. As they walked for some time inside the city, they passed the old poor areas and finally found themselves in somewhat a cleaner place. Are you done following us? John spoke. To his words, a few kids behind Alina and Jelinar moved away with displeased faces. It seemed that John knew what they were after and intimidated them. Who are they? They are the ones who benefit in the chaos. What chaos? The one that is about to start, he said and walked forward. Remember, don't rush forward without checking your back, that's how they get you. As he said so, a brute appeared before him. He seemed to have some friends sitting on the roadside nearby. Well, 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 what do we have here? Which mammoth gave birth to a giant like you? Ha ha. The brute seemed to be very confident as he stepped in front of John. John slightly smiled and shook his head. Never change, Maul. Never change. As the brute heard John's words, he was taken aback for a second. The people who he came with were noticed the change for a second, but John acted faster than them. He waved his hands towards the brute's throat and struck it. The brute face turned red from the pain and started coughing. John was still not done, and carried the brute with his 2 arms, then started running with him. Hey, stop him! Fuck! What's going on? The friends of the brute were fully triggered and ran after John. Jelinar and Alina were left behind, so they decided to follow up, but before charging forward, they looked behind them. They saw the kids from before trying to sneak behind them, but as soon as they got noticed, they ran away. I see. Alina and Jelinar made an understanding face before running after John. John didn't run far ahead. As soon as he reached the first water canal before the Bee and Barb Tavern, he threw the brute in the water. Splash. Ha ha! Who's laughing now, Maul? John laughed out loud, then turned to the brute's friends who were running after him and removed his hood. Zula, Nark, Fleet, missed you, fuckers. The boys paused all of a sudden. Oblivion. What did this guy eat? Shit. That's Dare. Oh man, I just had a bath this morning. John shook his head. TSK, TSK, TSK. You guys are all going for a swim. John extended his hand and grabbed 2 of his old friends, then threw them at the canal. The third tried to run, but John grabbed him with telekinesis and threw him after them. Magic is cheating, Dare. It is cheating. Whoa. Fuck you, Dare. Fuck you too, Fleet. Oh man, this is so much fun. John looked down the bridge and saw the 4 people swimming out of the canal. Fuck you, John. This is payback, Maul, so fuck you. Don't let me catch you. I want to see you try. How is your mother? How is yours? TSK. I am coming up. Don't you dare run away. Wait. I forgot. No magic, damn it. Chapter 265 Catatoskr 2. The Ragged Flagon. Finally an extra. This one comes to you by Merker 1. A bit late, I know, but there are more and I am taking my time. Welcome to the Bee and Barb, Lord and ladies. If I can interest you in one of our special drinks, you let me know. It is Talonjei, the Argonian innkeeper. Thank you. May we have a room for us 3? I said, not minding my words. Sure, may I see your city pass then? Here you go. Oh. A local. Not sure I have seen someone with your size around here before. Oh. It has been years since I left Riften to roam the world. I am finally back, haha. So, in this world there is someone who is happy about coming back to this city. The world sure is strange. Don't worry, it is just a visit. Wise words, a room for 3, you said? Talonjei, I said, and glanced at Alina and Jul. A room for 3, I said. Talonjei smiled and led me to a room. There is a lot of weirdos like me in Riften, but these 2 are my family. I will refrain from smacking Talonjei till later. A clean, quiet room with a large bed away from everyone. Let me know if there is anything you need. Thank you. Talanjai left and the girls finally sat down. This town is a bit extreme, Alina said. No, it is Winterhold that is too lazy compared to here. People are always working in Winterhold, but here, people are always stealing, so make sure to keep in mind that everyone has bad intentions towards you. Okay. How do people live in this kind of place? Haha. You just get used to it. Riften is actually no different than a modern city on Earth. Just a bit lawless, and people are more connected. They can smell outsiders easily, and these are their normal victim. One of the reasons all the big trades happens outside Riften. Anyway, set up protection around this room. I paid for a week, so let's keep ourselves comfortable. The place here is safer than outside, but don't trust anyone and keep yourself under your hoods. You will get used to the place and people in a day or two, so don't hold back and keep your swords away. Use only daggers or throwing knives. I will be using greed though. That thing is so creepy. Sorry about it. Still, that's a lot of rules for a lawless town. Exactly, this is Riften 101, written a guy who actually lived here for 15 years. The point is, don't try to look like an outsider or a rich person unless you are pretty famous in town. We'll keep it in mind. And that's how I started to teach the girls about Riften. It is pretty common for each country to have a Riften, but if I was reincarnated in any place other than this town, I would have died of boredom. But this trip wasn't all fun and meeting old friends as I expected, and that brings us to the next day. I was in the market square and the situation there was normal. I even met some old kids from the orphanage like Grumpy Grelka and hanged up for a while until I was approached by a small girl begging for money. I noticed the way the girl asked for money and pointed out something. How old are you, kiddo? 8. I see. I patted the girl's head and whispered to her, that boy looking at us behind the stall, that is your friend, right? The girl's eyes widened up. If you signal for him to come, I will break his arm. Even Alina poked me hard when I said that. Well, I understand what is going on. These kids are the rats, as we used to be called when we started running down the streets back then. The rats are the regular lookouts and cutpurses. They also do the dirty stuff like causing scenes and getting captured instead of the other senior troublemakers. Still, there was one rule: no less than 10 years old. Kid, you are an orphan, right? The girl, who started shivering, nodded like a broken doll. I see. Let me take you to the orphanage. I took the girl from her hand and walked out of the market. I noticed that I was being followed, so Joel and Alina took distance from me and kept an eye on whatever is happening. I walked the old road, I remembered, but I came to a halt. There was a presence hiding in an alleyway. I only gave a small signal and 2 shadows jumped down from a building and captured whoever was spying on me. I took the girl I was holding and walked to the alleyway. As I reached there, I found Alina standing and Joel apprehending a person. No. Sapphire. The girl in my hand almost jumped when she saw the person under Joel's feet. It seems that this is the one who manages the orphans in the market. Sapphire, huh? She appeared in the game, not a really likable character. That's okay for now. Take this girl and give and buy her some food, leave that to me. I handed the small girl to Alina and took over Sapphire. Sapphire seemed to be just a young girl around 16. Her eyes are sharp and she was glaring at Joel. I raised her up from the nape of her clothes to my eye level and started to talk. Let me make one thing clear. Eat shit, asshole. Slap. Is that clear? Sapphire's circuits seemed to have rebooted just now. She was still glaring though. I raised my hand once again, but she reacted splendidly this time. Good, I have a question. There was that rule the guild had to not make kids less than 10 do stuff around the town. There is still that rule, right? Sapphire seemed to have frozen. Oh. I see, that was your private business. Good, very good. I put her down but kept clutching to her neck. Greed, which was under my sleeve, came out and tied the hands of Sapphire. Scream and your bones will bend in ways you have never thought they were possible. Sapphire only nodded. Cool. Let's go. I kept my arm on her shoulder as I dragged her with me. My direction was clear, the Ratway. If someone asked what is the worst place in all of Riften, then there is only one answer, and that is the Ratway. One can say the Ratway is the city under the city. Dark, dangerous, and no place for decent folk. An underground tunnel system beneath the city of Riften. It is the base of operations for the Thieves Guild, and also serves as home for all sorts of weirdos, serial killers, lowlifes, and misfits. Riften normally has 2 levels, the upper city where the normal folk lives and the undercity down at the canals where poor folk and cutoffs live. The Ratway is the extension of that undercity where a network of sewer tunnels run, but it is fairly populated for a good reason. I stepped in front of the main entrance of the Ratway and walked from there. Normally I take another way in, but I am not expected and I have Alina and Jull with me. As we walked the dark, smelly tunnels, I could hear Alina complain every 2 seconds about something different. She is a princess, so it must be hard for her, yet Julliner didn't let it go and kept mocking Alina on everything. These two are fairly strong now, but I would be worried if I run into any one of the big fishes in the Ratway. The underground arena in Riften is actually full of top-notch killers and people I would have a hard time fighting against, but my current size is intimidating on its own. Still, it was all the same as I remembered, even the traps and the lookouts were in their usual spots. It feels as if time didn't pass here. After taking a few turns and knocking down a few skeevers, I arrived in front of a door that I simply pushed open. Behind it, there was a large circular chamber, a pool in the middle, pathway across the sides, and a bunch of people at the other side of the room around what seemed to be a bar. This was Riften's most infamous inn, the Ragged Flagon. I calmly walked in with Sapphire under my wind while Alina and Jull followed. They seemed to be in total full awareness about the place. As we approached the inn, some brute stopped in our way. "You're looking for trouble here, giant? Let the girl go." The brute sounded intimidating for sure. I could feel Alina taking out a dagger, but she triggered the rest of the inn's patrons. "Girls, say hey to my friend Dirge." As I said so, the place quieted down. "Fun story. Do you know we call him Dirge? 'Cause he is a sad person?" Jull guessed. "'Cause I'm the last thing you hear before they put you in the ground," Dirge said. "Well, it sounds cool, but that's not true. I actually know the true story behind it." As I said so, Dirge seemed to have figured out my identity as well as everyone else in the Ragged Flagon. But before he could do anything, I waved my hand fast at Dirge's head, held it, then crushed it to a wall. Dirge. Because that sound comes out whenever anyone bashes his head to a wall, ha ha ha. I walked past the passed out Dirge to the middle of the bar. "Well, well, ain't this a nasty surprise?" A voice came from behind me. I turned around with a smile and let go of Sapphire. "What? No hugs among thieves now?" "I'll hug you if you have something worth hugging you for." "Bleh, I won't hug a nasty-smelling old man like you even if I go to oblivion for it," which actually happened, and I would hug a Hagraven instead of going back there. "You. John, that's nasty." "Fine, I'll hug you for free this time." "Come here, Delvin." It was my mentor and the man who set me on the path of nastiness, Delvin Mallory. Chapter 266, Catatoksr 3, The Thieves Guild. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. "Look at how tall you became. You ain't cut for this job anymore." "Come on, Delvin. You'll hurt my feelers. I can solve it all with a few spells." "You still trying to fix everything with magic, ain't you? And that reminds me, how is your mother?" "Which one?" "Oh. So they let you into their little secret, didn't they? Fine, let's start with the headmistress." "She's all right, free from responsibilities even though she runs a whole department in the college. I know another monster who can act the same, and speaking of which, she too is alright, and I am going to have siblings. Bloody Deidre. Are we going to have more brats like you? Nope, the world isn't fit for one more person like me. It would become a disaster. Yeah, tell that to those fuckers who tried to hunt your mother ages ago. Still, I am glad you found your home. Crazy folk these firemen's. Yeah, tell me about it. Huh. I remember your mother too bashed Dirge's head to the ground last time she came here. It is really fun. I hate to kill the guy, but the sound of cracking his head to a wall is so addictive. Talking to Delvin after all that time is as fun as ever. We were talking in a low tone for the time. And these are, Delvin gestured with his head towards Alina and Joel. My people. Oh. You have people now. We heard about what you did in Winterhold. You pissed off all of our connections. You go build a home in the most isolated piece of land in Skyrim, and people still find excuses to hate me. People are hopeless, man. Still, you earn the hate. Eriker, Blackbriar, Silverblood and other names you don't know about, made a lot of enemies and you still walk into Blackbriar territory so freely. A wise man once said, we make enemies to make friends. Who the fuck is that? Me just now. Fucking idiot. Still, you earned yourself a seat on the big table, boy. Come. Delvin led me to a table where he sits. There were plenty of seats, but it was only the two of us. Alina and Joel sat at the table behind me. Alina seemed to not like the place, but Joel was curious. That was the case until the other people showed up. Is it you, Dare? Brynjolf. Another old friend appeared. Vex and Tanilia came too. The boy became too large, just like what Delvin said. This will be the end, huh? Vex said. Come on, big sis. Don't be so hard on me. I can still prove I am good. How come? The security in your Winterhold is slobby, she said. Oh. First of all, there is no security measure that can work against you. And I know that you didn't come to Winterhold. Tanilia is the one who came to negotiate terms with some of the traders but failed miserably. And now we are playing in the open. So you knew I came. Come on, Tun. That is my town and I keep an eye for outsiders. You taught me that. And we are regretting it now, Vex said. You guys just had to come to me. I know I own a lot of money now and I too much in the light, but you need me. I know Maven and Eriker are upset with me, but I appreciate that we are still friends. Brynjolf, Delvin, Vex and Tun looked at each other. They got what I am trying to say. So you're saying friends share? Delvin asked. Friends share, I replied. Ha! The little red cat is back, Vekkel. Bring this boy a big man's drink. Finally, I get the big man's drink. After all these years. I was genuinely excited about this. Here you go, John. And welcome back. Vekkel, ma man. 2 soft drinks for the ladies and, if you have some fresh fish. Weird order. Vekkel tilted his head. Before I reply, a black cat jumped from under my chair and sat on the table. For her Meowjesty. Everyone widened their eyes when they saw Nefertiti. What? You guys think you can act all shady around me without me having someone who can actually sneak on you? TSK, too mistaken. Oh, I see things have changed. So, what is the King of Winterhold giving us? I showed good faith lately, helped your people in the college a lot, you know. Yeah, we heard of it. What else? Well, as you can see, the Dare Dragon Company and the East Empire Company are expecting a baby. I said then thought of it again, gross, right? I tried to make it badass in my head but sounded so gross out loud. Point is we can reach places the East Empire Company can't reach now. With the decline of the Empire and the current state of its international relationships, places like Morrowind, Black Marsh and Eastern Skyrim will be hard to trade with for some time. With Winterhold best trade route being the sea, we will connect that all together with our neutral stance. But you can't handle all that alone, and that's where you need us. Delvin followed up. Couldn't put it better myself. Silence took over for a while as Vekel brought up the drinks and the fish for Nefertiti. We took sips while thinking of the next move. I see, but what guarantees that what you said is true? Vex asked. Oh come on, just one word. War. The atmosphere turned gloomy all of a sudden. The word war is not something a thief would want to hear. It wrecks business and causes lazy, clumsy people to sober up. It empties the coffers and makes life hard for everyone, starting with the thieves who get a lot of competition during the time of war. The main reason why thieves would hate war the most. You don't have a proof. Vex tried to deny me, but Delvin and Tanilia interrupted her. He is right. What he said is true. I smiled at their reaction. We were having a rough time lately. This curse haunting the guild is making everyone's life hard. Tell you the truth, your offer is the best thing we got so far, but what do you want to get back in return? Well, you can already guess that a neutral side is bad for whatever war is going to start. Someone's trying to be peaceful will make both sides always suspect that he is working for the other side. I need someone to keep tabs on everybody while supports Winterhold. You give me that and I will let the merry little band run the docks of Winterhold. There will be rules, but you will have some luck with me around. Isn't that right, Delvin? You always said that thing. Ah yes. Your luck is league on its own, the whole guild can get cursed, but you will always be the luckiest brat in the bunch. Glad you still admit that. Fine, kid. We're on board, but only when Mercer agrees. Delvin said and looked at Brynjolf. Easy. I'll convince him. Brynjolf said. Cheers then. Cheers. This meeting went really well. I know the weak point of the Thieves Guild and I acted on it. They are desperate but still arrogant and don't want to admit that they are cursed. Only Delvin understands the matter and he believes, no, he doesn't believe, but he knows that my luck is different than the guild's. The reason why I came back here was to make some real allies to the Dare Dragon Company. The Thieves Guild cut contact with me ever since I established myself in Winterhold because of the sharp competition I have, but as soon as I fixed myself with a powerful partner like the East Empire Company, I managed to make a real footing in the business world. The problem with the business world is that nothing is hardly definite, and a superpower like the East Empire Company would calculate their gains and losses before anything. With the Thieves Guild, I can make the East Empire Company see more gains than losses. This is how incredible the guild can be. They may be thieves and cut purses, but the ones who sit on the big table are the true money magicians. Also, I will be able to control the black market when it comes to Winterhold. An organization I was raised in and learned from is much better than someone I don't speak the same language with. The main point is, I can't control Winterhold on my own anymore. Criminals will appear as soon as the work is done, and the Thieves Guild will surely be the best underworld organization I can rely on. Dealing with a disease you already know is better than one you don't know. We started talking away from business right after that until someone came out from the back of the ragged Flagon, a large figure and green to yellow scales. Once the figure saw Julliner, it walked towards her. Hey there, sweet thing. I see you found. Before the Argonian keeps on with his words, a beam of silver light flew towards his face at an insane speed. The Argonian raised his hand and attempted to catch the knife that was about to obliterate his face with his aura, but the knife curved in the air and dodged his hand. His eyes widened and he dodged right away. Call me that again and you won't be this lucky. Julliner raised her hand and the knife she threw flew back to her palm. Telekinesis shots, Julliner's latest awesomeness. Undodgeable, untraceable, unpredictable. There is normally no one who can cause trouble in the ragged Flagon, but no one would blame Julliner. Being harassed by an Argonian is really a turn-off for everyone. The Argonian seemed to be surprised, but he ignored my stare, and seemed to be thinking of causing some trouble for Jull, but someone interfered. Something not any of the people here would have imagined happened, and a large figure appeared behind the Argonian. Without even looking behind him, the Argonian realized he would be screwed if he moved a muscle or breathed out of rhyme. From everyone's point of view, they saw a large monster cat appeared behind the Argonian. Its head was over the Argonian's as it growled at him. Her voice was akin to an angry beast, and her blue eyes reflected an angry cold light. However, from my point of view, I saw a cute big ball of fluff who was trying to intimidate the bad guys who annoy her friends. How freaking adorable! Ahem, Nefertiti, it is okay now. You have made your point. With me saying so, Nefertiti disappeared in the shadow and reappeared on my lap. She acted lazily and purred when I scratched her chin. My heart, it is melting. You don't know true love unless you see a cat acting overprotective over you. The people in the room were looking between me, Nefertiti and Julliner. They then looked at Alina for a second and backed away. Wise decision. These past 3 years, what happened? Delvin asked. Let's just say, even oblivion couldn't swallow us. I am not asking anymore. Hey Swims. Act with more manners around here, man. Delvin looked at the Argonian who moved a bit later. The Argonian nodded and joined us on the big table. Don't worry about him, John. He is a bit of troublemaker and a money bringer, but he is a bit off lately. You two haven't met here before, have you? John, this is Swims at Night, the best Argonian smuggler in Tamriel, or so he presents himself. Swims, this is John Dare, the Thane of Winterhold. Swims at Night extended his hand and I responded to his handshake. Now, Swims. That shipment you promised. Delvin said. I will deliver, Delvin. Some complications on the southern mountains, that's all. Swims seemed annoyed. Mercer already gave me the earful. Well, I am glad he is acting like the guildmaster for once. Delvin mocked. You owe me a drink, Swims, I said as soon as they finished. Hee, yes I do. Vekel, that blood wine I brought you, a bottle for the gentleman on my tab. Oh, an Argonian blood wine. That's rare. You still didn't say why you dragged Sapphire all the way here. Brynjolf reminded me. Oh. It became a bit personal between me and her. Say, Brynjolf, you let that chick run the kids of the orphanage? Yes, just like the old days. The understanding we had doesn't involve kids less than 10 years old. As I said so, the place became silent. Sapphire, Brynjolf called out. As he said so, the girl came running from the table on the other side. You did it once again, didn't you? The kids were younger than what I told you. But, Brynjolf, these kids came to me. And you had to shoo them away, Brynjolf said. Wait. Came to you? I asked. Yes, they are hungry. Why? Is there a food problem in Riften? No, it is that devil who runs the orphanage, Delvin said. Wait, Grelod is not feeding the kids now? It is far worse than we thought it would turn out. The place is turning into a mess, and the Jarl don't even hear of it, Delvin said. And where did you find the kids? Brynjolf asked me. In the market. Brynjolf glared at Sapphire right away. We said the market is off limits, Sapphire. Damn it. There seems to be something I am not catching up to. What's with the market? We all operated there when we were young. No, things are different now. The Jarl left most of the guards in the market to fight the skooma. The market now became the skooma den, and not safe to operate for the rats at all. Last year, a kid was killed by an addict and his body was found in the canal. That's why we don't operate in the market anymore. Sapphire, you are answering for this. Brynjolf took Sapphire from her arm and dragged her into the main hideout. It seems the situation is bad. The orphanage and the market. That idiot Jarl is also being led by the nose again. Sigh. Delvin, you still have my cards. As I said so, everyone looked at me with wide eyes. Delvin waved at Vekkel, who came towards me with a tray and black card on it. The black card gas a drawing of a red cat. Oh boy. I thought you will never ask. Chapter 267 Catatoskr 4. The Crimes of the Red Cat. A sponsored extra by Julian Weber. After receiving the card from Vekkel, John immediately went to the market square and stole all the stall and the goods with a snap of his fingers, leaving the card hanging through the air with a simple spell. Catatoskr is back. That is how everyone understood it. The person in question himself was sitting in a dark corner in the Bee and Barb Inn with a beauty on his lap. They were kissing and having fun together while some people started glancing at them. A gigantic Nord man and a pale dark elf girl, a weird combination but not unusual in Riften. They later started to disengage when a third figure with a metallic mask joined them. I say you two go get a room, Alina said as she sat down. Sorry. It got to my head after seeing the stalls disappear just like that. So sexy. Jull whispered quietly. Why is it your first time seeing John doing something dare? No, it is my first time seeing him being so naughty. For the first time in a while, Alina and Julliner had a difference in opinion about John's action. Alina was somewhat not comfortable with Riften, while Julliner blended in nicely. So, how did you do it? Alina asked. The market. No, all of them. Still, Alina seemed to be a bit interested. Okay, ask away. John sat back and relaxed, ready to answer them all. They say the first impactful one was the bell of the Temple of Mara. Oh, that one was actually very easy. My friend Alessandra, from the Temple of Mara. Alessandra? She is a priestess of Arche who works in the temple's Hall of the Dead. A really unfortunate girl who is growing over the age of marriage without finding a partner. Oh, I see. Arche priests marry Arche priestesses, that's the custom among them. No one really likes to marry a priest of the god of the dead. It sounded much sexier in ancient Egypt, but whatever. I was on a run with Vex which was pickpocketing. You know I don't like pickpocketing, right? Vex kinda like pickpocketing more than actual work, even though she is the first pair of boobs I ever picked. No details, John. Right. Anyway, she made me meet her friend Alessandra. The two are Imperials, you see. Alessandra tells me that she talked to her friend Dinya, who is working as a priestess of Mara now, right? And she's married to that dude, Marmal, who's the head priest in Riften. And she tells him about the guards who are occupying a part of the temple, saying it opened to the Ratway. Right? That one of them is like this scary-faced dude mixed up with criminals, but he's stealing corpses from the Hall of the Dead. And so, Marmal and Brynjolf are drinking buddies, and they get to talking, right? And here comes the good part. Marmal says, yo man, this guy's got some shady business in our temple and chilling. The other guards listen to him, and he may hurt us. Of course Brynjolf comes to me because he knows I got mad thieving skills. Of course I ask him, did Alessandra tell Dinya to tell Marmal to tell you to tell Vex to come to me? And he says, nah lad. All she said is that it's super legit and whatever's in it, it's up to no good. John told his story. Alina was completely lost. Pfft. John and Julliner couldn't handle it anymore and fell on the ground laughing. As they calmed down, Julliner explained that Alessandra reached out to John through a chain of mutual friends. Ah, I see. John was obviously making fun of Alina, who was out of her natural habitat, but she still couldn't tell what's going on. Just spare us the story and tell us how you did it? Julliner said. Well, you see. Alessandra asked for someone who can deal with complicated situations when it comes to criminals who are in cahoots with the guards, especially the criminal guards. There was that band of guards that started stealing corpses, so I devised a plan to lead out the Hu townsfolk towards their location and catch them dirty-handed. Vex and I climbed the temple's lighthouse and installed large mirror panels around the bell so people think it is stolen. Brynjolf made the people notice, then a mob rushed at the temple, and so they found the corpse robbers. Vex and I broke the mirrors and escaped afterward. Actually, Riffin's temple has not tower or bell, but isn't that a temple dedicated to marriage? Alina and Jelinar nodded in understanding. So that's what happened? So underwhelming. I thought there would be some profound art of illusion magic that made the town go insane. Alina said. Actually, it is brilliant. Some mirror panels and you fooled the whole town. Jelinar said. John smiled as he saw the difference between the thrill-seekers Jelinar and the nerdy Alina. Tell about the city gates time. That one was actually hard to pull. There is that guy in the guild called Charwainen. He used to be a bandit before he joins in, and so he had some relations with them. He heard that a band of brigands is going to raid the town from the north gate in the matter of days, and the guard's captain was bought by them, as it seemed he is going to sabotage the hinges and locks of the gate and leave the area poorly guarded. We had to make a stance, and even Delvin participated in this one. I went out as a Loki from maintenance who came to fix the gate. Of course our associates joined in and disgusted themselves as guards. Once we drugged the actual guards, we took down the gate and carried it out of town towards the other gate, then left it there and disappeared afterward. The next day, the Jarl puked blood from rage and put the guard's captain to death. Even Jelinar was underwhelmed this time. Yes, I know. In reality, the most boring answer is the right answer. John defended himself. Tell us about the ship that was left in the market square. This one got to be amazing. Alina said. Yes, it got to be. Even Jelinar agreed. John sighed and shook his head. This is the easiest and the shortest so far. Nirina was drunk. End of story. Wait, that's all to it? Jelinar asked. No heroics? No good deeds? Does this even count as your doing? Well, I hate to brag, but convincing a drunk archwizard to lift up a large fishing boat from the lake and put it into the middle of the market is still an achievement. The reason? In winter, food prices get doubled in Riften, and fish is basically our main food here. In one winter, the fishery's owner, Bori, decided to hide a large catch of winter fish in his largest fishing boat and get it out once the price gets the highest. This means that Riffin's people would starve because of that greedy bastard. And then, the gods sent down a boat full of fishes to the town. How beautiful to have faith. So there was a good deed after all. Ahem, I am a humble person, but yeah. Humble? You just called yourself and master gods. Did I? Whatever, how did you steal the Jarl's voice? That was no good deed, it was just a prank. I only added some poison to her mead which numbed her vocal cords. Okay, wait. How could you get to the Jarl's drink? You see, like most dirty politicians, Lela Lawgiver likes to make speeches with orphans around so that she can gain the sympathy of the populace. Probably the only move in her notebook, she did that yearly. One year, I happened to be invited to be one of the kids standing around her, and you can guess the rest. That is really interesting to know, Alina said. I know, right? Jelinar was more excited though. What about today's? Alina asked. This one will satisfy you, Alina. I used greed, as I can shred it into 1,000,000 pieces and attach it on anything. I simply made greed, mark every stall and crate I wanted to steal, and pulled it all back to the Haven Cube. Oh, I see, simple but smart. Alina was finally excited. The main objective about today is to locate the skooma sellers in the market. I had Jul and Nefertiti search the stalls in my Haven Cube thoroughly and locate all the skooma secret stashes. The stalls were marked with a shadow mark known to Brynjolf, and he will make sure that the guards arrest all the owners of these stalls. Alina was smiling brightly at John. I know I don't like Riften and how people treat you here, but the idea of the heroic thief is really interesting. I think it opened my eye to a new aspect in life. Even thieves can be heroes. Yeah. John and Jolinar looked at each other and shook their heads. Alina was one of Skyrim's nobility, and most of what she saw of John was how a heroic warlord and domineering ruler he can be, which she was totally agreeing with. Seeing John walk among the thieves in the slums of Riften, exchanging insults with them and accepting and changing to be like them was a bit new to her, but realizing that there is a heroic meaning behind all that made her change her mind. It was a different story to Jolinar, who swore to live in his shadow and be his merciless blade even if he is a villain. John didn't have any of those thoughts in mind though. He hated both heroes and villains equally. He valued professionality and serving the greater good. He can be both a heroic figure and a merciless villain depending on the situation and the aim. Niccolò Machiavelli once said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Anyway, I am going to do something for tonight, but I hope that you guys mix yourself with the people around Riften. As you already know, we are going to deal with them a lot in the future. Alina, you normally govern Winterhold in my stead, so keep an eye on how the underworld works. Sure, I will do my best. Joel, you will try to get along with the guild members. You lead Team Zero and you need to keep up with the guild's operatives. It is not that hard, but don't underestimate anyone. Fine, but at least tell me about the big ones. Okay, the one who appears in public the most is Big Bro Brynjolf. He is actually the closest to me, but don't let his large build and quiet appearance fool you. This guy has abilities that can put a supercomputer to shame. What? Never mind it now. Brynjolf is a Nord who can smell money, calculate money, make money, give birth to money, lay money eggs, scam money from people. He just knows it all when it comes to money. Brynjolf is Delvin's true protégé. After Brynjolf comes Vex, the silver-haired Imperial. She is a total badass Black Widow material. She is the mistress of action around the guild. From pickpocketing to lockpicking, there is no place where Vex can't go through. She is a lesbian, but don't tell that to Delvin. He may actually die from sadness. Then there is Tanilia the Redguard. She is the fence, fixer, dealer, trader and the manager of the internal affairs. She also gives loans and makes the large trade. She is in a relationship with Vekkel and may actually kill any woman who approaches Vekkel. Speaking of Vekkel, he is the owner of the Ragged Flagon. Don't let his appearance fool you. This guy is a pro when it comes to evaluating people. Even Delvin listens to his opinion. Then there are other juniors like Catatoskr the Red Cat, your humble John Dare. There is also Etienne who oversees the supplies and the best person who can navigate in the Ratway, and there is Sinric, a professional jailbreaker, as well as many other juniors. Next up we come to the two on the top. Delvin is the mentor of most of the thieves, and he created the system of the Shadow Mark. He can be silly sometimes, but he is the best of the best, and he likes to teach others too. His main power, however, is business, and from him, I learned a lot. He is an economic bomb that can dry a town of money and sink another in money. After Delvin comes the top dog, Mercer. He is the guild master, and let's just say it bluntly, I hate that guy. He is bad news and the reason why the guild is in bad luck. No one has any clue why, but it is better to avoid him for the time being. John introduced all the people he is close within the Thieves Guild to Jolinar. Of course, the part about Mercer was only kept to himself. He still has plans for Mercer, but that needs some preparation. Anyway, after the market incident the city will be on high alert, but I need this will be perfect for me. I will busy myself with something tonight. And Alina, I am giving you a task to enchant some items for me before tomorrow. John handed Alina a paper with the details. I will see to it. What will you busy yourself with anyway? John smiled evilly. There is a certain hag that needs to meet a miserable end, but before doing so, I need to get this baby fully charged, John said as he took out the skull of corruption from the cube. Tonight will be a nightmarish night. Chapter 268 Catatoskr 5, a Grelod Breakout. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra chapter. 8,000 vote. By a nightmarish night, it meant that I will go out in the city holding the skull of corruption in my hand and collecting the people dreams, replacing them with nightmares. That's the first ability of the skull, Dream Steal. I went out in Riften wearing all black and flew in the night sky hidden from view. I started collecting the dreams from the sleeping people house by house. While I was causing nightmares in town, I started to settle old grudges by drawing more dreams from the people I don't like, and it was fun. I avoided the orphanage by all costs and made sure to annoy the corrupted people more. After a while, I landed on a certain high building in the city and observed the town below with some nostalgic thoughts. Riften, a city that the game didn't give justice at all. Actually, it is the most city that wasn't given justice. Winterhold was a more tragic version of the game's version. Whiterun was much larger. Solitude was really a really majestic city. Falkreath was a calm mix between a forest and a city. Dawnstar was a large town on a bay. But Riften, oh man. Riften is the place one would love to hate and love at the same time. A city with no discrimination whatsoever, even though it is in the gutter. Argonians and Dark Elves live peacefully here even though their homelands are currently at war. Nords here are as slimy as Bretons and love money as much as Imperials. They accept outsiders more than the people of Solitude themselves. A really mysterious place. I would compare it to a medieval rustic version of Gotham City, but that doesn't make me Batman now, doesn't it? A super rich guy who came back to town after he trained outside. Yep, I am Batman. I also remember that I stayed in Riften more than any other town when I played the game. Something about it was just better than any other town in Skyrim. I remember adding a ton of mods to change many things in Riften, from Sexy Riften to JK Riften to Riften Thief Edition to Ravengate. I modded the hell out of that town, but the reality was still far better. I always think of it as a blessing that I was reincarnated in Riften rather than anywhere else. Anyway, I was done with the nostalgic feelings and focused on the matter in hand. Are you really going to kill the hag? God damn it, Shadow? Where do you pop up from, man? I was just curious. Hey, can I control that black thing? Fine. I could feel that greed was starting to take consciousness of its own and move to form a figure beside me. It looked like a really bad figure with an evil face and a fluid body. It felt like some sort of a Lovecraftian creature. Lovecraftian is a subgenre of horror fiction where bad creatures are scary, moisty, and gross. Oh, it sure feels nice. How did you get that thing? Like you don't know a thing about me. Come on. There is a lot I don't know about you. You are really a very interesting guy. Thanks. Just don't possess me with that dark matter and call us Venom. It is actually a very dope idea. I love that movie. Maybe you should get out of my head. I agree, too many movies in there. So, you are doing it, huh? Killing the old woman now? Yeah. I am planning on something good. Oh, I can't wait, but are you really going to mess up the future? You mean the future of the game? Yes. Shadow was talking about killing Grelod, and what would it affect in the future. Killing her will surely change things, as she is the NPC the player kills in the game to start the Dark Brotherhood questline. Surely killing her will change things, but I had another idea in mind. The contract on her head wasn't even out yet. Well, look around you. I stared at Riften, a city that its true essence never appeared in the game. Tall buildings, rustic wood, stinky places. This is no longer the game, man. This is a reality. I know, but changing too much future may change the fates of many things. I have already changed many things. I am not afraid anyway. You are right. But keep in mind that some events will happen out of the scenarios you know of from now on. Yeah, but at least things will get better for some people. A piece of advice: you haven't matured yet as John. Don't try to put obstacles in your fate. You already pissed off a Daedric prince. I see, he is right. Tell me, Shadow, what is fate? I want to say that I can answer that, but I am not a mortal. I can't put a right answer to it, so I will say that fate is the potential of mortals. Come on, you are a celestial being, there is more, right? Can my fate affect those who are around me? Yours surely can. But strong fates have a problem, you see. It is hard to be free of them, and they backfire like a bitch, especially for people who have prophecies like you. What about weak fates? They are unfortunate in a way. But think of it like the beings that evolve. Strong beings have less evolution potential and harder conditions. Weak beings have more potential and fluid conditions. Still, the weak beings face more risk. All that applies to fate. Interesting subject. I have never studied things like fates before. It is hard to do so even for immortals. We don't have fates, you see. I know, I still never understood much about the higher realms at all. One at a time, my mortal friend. One at a time, let's just move to the part where you kill the hag. You're keeping everyone on edge here. Yeah, let's do it. The day following the market robbery was a day that the people of Riften expected and hoped to pass quietly. Their wish came true for the day, but the night was the stage when John and his girlfriends started to act. John was in a large cloak and walked towards Honor Hall Orphanage. He was trying to avoid attention as he approached the door. As he did so, he activated his spell, Third Eye, Eye of Magic, a unique spell only John have enough magica quality to use. It allowed him to see through energy, space, objects, but it was really a costly spell. He checked the place until his eye landed on a room. There was a woman sleeping in a large room, and seemed hateful in a glance. John instantly teleported in the room quietly, but the old hag woke up right away. She saw a large guy in her room, and instantly jumped out of her bed with a dagger at hand. Who are you? Do you think you can get— Oh! John removed his hood, and the woman felt that his face was awfully familiar. John also looked at the familiar old woman, whose face was as cruel as it used to be. Long time no see, Grelod. Memories started to get back to her brain and her eyes widened. It is you, the witch's boy, she said. Hee. Yeah, it is me. Why are you here in my room? Do you think I won't call the guards for you? Oh, this is just a dream, don't worry. I am not really here. What, you are insane like that witch, and look how she turned you into a freak. No, I actually grew taller on my ow. Hee, it is good you finally came. Lady Maven will be pleased that I finally have a clue on you. Grelod said something interesting. Oh really? Keep going, what does Maven want with me? Hee, I don't care, but you really messed with her at last. Now she will get rid of you and that witch for good. Maven will? Yes, she is the strongest woman in Riften. She funds the orphanage now. Oh, I see. I see, now that Nurina left, you accepted funding from Maven and things are still this shitty. I knew nothing good would come from you. Anyway, I'll be leaving, but before doing so, John said, and took out the Skull of Corruption. What evil sorcery is that? Grelod jumped away from the evil appearance of the staff in John's hands. Nothing to concern yourself about. John cast the spell Walking Nightmares on Grelod. See you then. He then disappeared from the room. What did you do to me? TSK. Damn it. I got to tell Lady Maven. Grelod was scared when John did something with magic to her, then disappeared like that. She decided to run to Maven Blackbriar right away. 2 years ago, Maven came to see the orphanage and asked Grelod about John. She wanted to investigate the man she suspected to be her son's murderer, but things didn't go well as Nurina and John didn't let anyone into their secrets. Still, Grelod promised Maven to interrogate the people in the orphanage who were close to John and Nurina, and not enough results came out. Still, Maven decided to fund the orphanage for whatever reason. Grelod wanted to run to Maven right away to tell her about John being in Riften, and so she did put on her cloak and ran outside the orphanage towards the Blackbriar Manor, but she was stopped on the way. Someone very familiar stopped her, too familiar for her to not recognize. It was her. She herself was standing in front of her own self. She didn't understand. She didn't know how can there be two of her. She felt that her guts were on fire from the shock. The resemblance was flawless. She then remembered. The witch's boy. It got to be him. What is he planning? Grelod tried to put her thoughts together, but she didn't have the chance as a third Grelod appeared. Wah! A fourth. A fifth. A sixth. A seventh. A whole bunch. 100 or more. There were just too many Grelods surrounding her in the middle of the road. Onlookers noticed, people freaked out. Grelod may be too idiot to understand magic, but she felt the crisis approaching. Something very big was being brewed for her. Aawah! Hundreds of Grelods started screaming and shouting like savages. 1,000 feral Grelods broke out in Riften. Chapter 269 Catatoskr 6. The Saintess. This is an extra chapter sponsored by Jakov Grin. Hundreds of Grelods started screaming and shouting like savages. The town heard and all people woke up. Something they never fathomed was going on. 1,000 Grelod raging in Riften, breaking and destroying stuff. The guards were at a loss of what to do. What evil sorcery is that? Kill that witch. This is Grelod the Kind. From the orphanage. Oh gods! She is a witch. God save us. Kill the witch. The situation worsened in a flick of a second. A Grelod breakout in the night after the markets incident is the last thing the town needs. Kill that witch. The guards started fighting the Grelods, and it was chaos. The old women were unexpectedly strong. Swords didn't cut them this easily. Of course John was supporting them with magic, but that was for a good reason. In the middle of the confusion, Honor Hall Orphanage was having a chaotic scene too. All the children woke up when 3 Grelods started roaming in the place like zombies. The children screamed and ran from the scary Grelods, but as soon as one Grelod was about to attack Constance, the assistance of Grelod, a figure appeared and stuck down the feral Grelod. It was a girl in a hood who hid her face with a mask. This was Jellinar. Hey, take this broom, it is blessed. She handed Constance a broom. Constance was in a shock, but she took the broom right away. As soon as she did so, the other 2 Grelods attacked and Jellinar defeated one with an arrow. As soon as a Grelod was struck down, she turned into nothingness. Constance was scared shitless, but as soon as her broom touched the Grelod that was attacking her, that feral Grelod disappeared right away. Wow, we defeated them, oh, more are coming. As soon as Jellinar said that, another 7 Grelods were sent by John. Oh no, that's too many. Constance was freaked out. Don't fear, I have more blessed. Houseware. Jellinar came with a name to the enchanted tools John told Alina to enchant. These were random items that were enchanted with holy magic, which were very effective against the doubles made by the Skull of Corruptions. O great Kine, Mara de Bella, Shore, Son, send us the blessed houseware. With a slight pause for John to catch his breath after he almost choked on from laughter, Nefertiti showed up with a lot of items from the shadow. Here are the blessed houseware, humans. Use them well. I bless them with my paws and fluff. And she disappeared again. A strange silence took over the room. Even Jellinar needed some time to keep up. They are blessed by the holy cat. Let's do this, give some to the big kids. Jellinar said. But, they are kids. Constance was still scared. Come on, kids. It's you against that dumb bitch Grelod. The time has come to rise. Jellinar realized that Constance is a coward and rallied the kids. The kids responded well, and took the frying pans and the brooms from the floor. Nothing was bladed or anything, just safe daily stuff. Beat those Grelods up? Jelener led the kids towards the 7 Grelods, who moved slowly and beat them all. Good, you are brave kids. Now we can help the rest of the town until the saint arrives. Follow me. Jelener pushed the orphanage's door open. Jelener led the orphans to the town and started going after the Grelods that swarmed the place. Those Grelods who were giving the guards a hard time were nothing in front of the blessed houseware. Look, the orphans are defeating the Grelods. They are angels. Assist them. Guards, assist the orphans. Hurry up. The scene in outside the town was turning from a bizarre mess to a bit more bizarre mess. The orphans were taking down the Grelods like a charm. Here she is, here comes the saint. Jelener, who was among the children, pointed at the sky as someone was floating up there. A girl in a white dress with a blue ice armor over it. She was holding a healing staff, and wearing a white cloak. Half of her face was covered with a silver mask, but the other half was revealing that she is an otherworldly beauty. There was a strong aura of sparkle around her as she descended from the sky. A strong magic gushed from her, as if light mixed with wind and frost. It healed whoever it touched and made all the Grelods disappear. In truth, she was just casting a large-scale healing spell with some background effects of wind and frost magics, while John was canceling the walking nightmare, power of the skull of corruption. The effect of this act on the people was amazing. People started falling to the ground crying and worshipping. Even John was in awe of Alina's skill in acting, but it was actually not acting. She was the favored child of Kine, and her Sibyl, practically the leader of the cult of Kine, who was granted higher powers. As all the Grelods were smote down by Alina magic, she landed on the ground gracefully. Her long black hair flowed on her shoulders and back, and her red eyes gleamed behind the mask of the Fire Keeper. The people cleared a square for her, and she walked gracefully to the middle. Jelener was close, and she rallied the orphans to stand among Alina. Saintess, you are the chosen of Kine, please guide us and reveal where the evil witch hides. Jelener kept with her theatrical act. Alina wanted to slap her face, and she glared at John, who was floating high in the air. As she looked up to glare at John, the people were in awe and kneeled, even more, thinking that she is reaching to the higher powers. She is hiding over there in the alleyway. Bring her quietly. Alina gave up and decided to join the act. Noise erupted as the people started to look in the alleyway. Indeed, they found an old woman trying to hide herself, and they arrested her mercilessly. Leave me. Release me. I am innocent. It's him. It's him. The witch's boy. Grelod was screaming and freaking out, but she was dragged in front of the people, and she was put in front of Alina and the orphans. Holy Lady, what do you think we should do? The people asked Alina. The people were still in shock and needed guidance. Silence. The Saintess of Kine will speak. Jelener raised her hand to calm the people. The people quietened down and looked at Alina, whose appearance was dignified even more. Alina looked at the orphans around her and spoke. Children, how did that witch treat you? Fear appeared on the eyes of the children, but seeing Grelod all beaten up in front of them, courage rose in their hearts. She beats us up. A child spoke. She locks us in the dungeon. She doesn't feed us. The children spoke one after the other. They turned from terrified to ugly, and spoke of all the unbelievable things Grelod put them through. The townsfolk couldn't believe what they heard at first, but seeing the angry children, they all understood how these kids suffered. John didn't just kidnap Grelod and kill her for a reason. He wanted the whole town to experience how evil that woman is. He was angry and didn't want the woman to have a good reputation after death. In the game, after the player kills Grelod, the guards will say something like how they feel sad for an orphanage headmistress and how they thought the kids will be devastated, while it was the complete opposite. In the game, that quest's name was called Innocence Lost. And it starts by a kid hiring an evil cult of assassins to kill Grelod after he escaped from the orphanage. It is really not something normal for a kid to do, but it gets worse. When the player kills Grelod, The orphanage kids will actually celebrate Grelod's death over her corpse. No one can understand what kind of monstrosity that would turn innocent kids into such heartless beings. John himself didn't understand it until he lived it, and finally, he managed to plan the downfall of the hag. Now, in front of the eyes of gods and men, Alina is going to judge Grelod, but she was still the merciful saint. "Who will be taking care of the children then?" she asked. "Constance will. She is our older sister," a kid replied right away. "Where is she?" "I am here, holy lady." Constance appeared in front of Alina and almost kneeled. "No reason for you to kneel. Please, take the kids home. It is not appropriate for them to see what is going to happen next. I am no lord of this place, but take care of them as the headmistress." "Yes, yes, holy lady. It will be my honor." Constance led the kids back to the orphanage, even though they wanted to see Grelod get punished, but Alina's aura made them listen. As the kids went away, Alina stared at Grelod. She used telekinesis and held Grelod up in the air, then pushed her on a pole, and a rope came from thin air and tied itself around Grelod. Burn the witch. Chapter 270 Catatoskr 7. The Heist. Big thanks to Amaranth for donating. We'll publish an extra in his name, so he can live forever in Sovngarde. In our room in the Bee and Barb Inn, House was having a meeting. I was sitting with Nefertiti on my lap. Jelinar was feeding her strange spider magenta that grew as large as a dog lately, and Alina was checking the sealed egg. So, why did I have to go through that act? Alina was against using her powers to fool people like we did for a good reason, but she did it anyway when I asked her. "There is a good reason," I replied. "Which is?" Sigh. "Think of it, an old lady managed to fool the town enough to be called Grelod the Kind, then turned out to be a witch. What do you think the ignorant people will think of the orphans?" "Surely you are not saying—" "No, I am saying. People are stupid, Alina. They will think of Constance and the orphans as Grelod's lackeys and will abuse them." "How so?" "Well, no one spoke of Grelod abusing the kids in public before, so whatever the orphans say afterward won't be believable. Also, the pig-headed people won't take words from a child no matter what," I said. "So we had to show the public how horrifying that woman was. The orphans who saved the day were seen in a new light as children with good hearts, and the people will love them and take care of them." Jul continued. "And by you showing up and smiting evil with your holy magic, you pretty much showed the bright side of magic and how it can be a bane to the evil magic. Those locals who see magic as a bad thing will at least have an idea that good magic exists," I added. "And we spread the faith of the holy cat," Jul added. "Of course, that's above all else," I agreed. Alina heard the reasoning of our actions and started thinking. She was a bit shocked at first, but her lips curved up in a smile. "So, I too did a bad thing which is actually heroic just like you do." "Yeah, basically." "Wow!" Alina turned all smiles. She seemed to be taking a liking on the idea of being a naughty hero. Good grief. Sometimes I forget that they are actually young and I am the one with the mental age over 40 years by now. Still, you could think of all that before you take action. I am impressed. You should do so too. Managing a town like Winterhold requires that much at the very least. You also have to be several steps ahead of anyone and plan for all sorts of situations. You will lead the town in my stead one day and you will make tough decisions. I told her something that was in my mind for some time. Alina turned silent for a second, and I could see that her expressions are becoming serious. "Why? Do you want to leave me in Winterhold and go somewhere?" Her question was right on the mark. I am not sure what kind of stinking fate the future holds for me, but one day, maybe I'll go on an adventure or a business trip, maybe something I didn't plan for. You are preparing the town for dragon attacks for kind's sake. What else are you not planning for? Who knows? I just said and went up walking away. My mind was still heavy with things I have no control over. When the priestess of Azura came to me that day, she said things that gave me a headache till this day. How do I plan to counter a god that is pissed off at me? I just walked the stairs down in the B and Barb Inn and found myself an empty table in the corner. Nefertiti came out of the shadow once she felt that my mood is heavy and took a nap on the table. As I was sitting alone in the corner, 2 large hooded figures came to the inn. No one looked at them and no one cared. Half of Riften are shady-looking people anyway. Still, from the magicka around them, I recognized their identities. I picked a pebble from the ground and threw it at them. One of them noticed and blocked it with his hand. They then walked towards me. John. Cousin. What's up, guys? These were Wolf and Jorna. The town is the same as we left it, Wolf said as he joined me on the table with Jorna. Yep, same stinking Riften. Did you hear about what happened last night? They say Grelod was doing some sorcery, and she tried to invade the town, then a holy lady appeared and burned her on the stake. Wolfer said. Oh yes, it was a grand sight. Oblivion, John. Wolfer snapped out of the blue. What's wrong, man? I know you are behind that. Why didn't you wait for me? How the hell should I know you were coming today? Do you want me to wait for you while poor innocent children suffer? Also, if you were with us, you may have finished Grelod too quickly with your hammer. You are actually not wrong. But at least you should have let me do something, man. Not cool. I even brought the fork of horripilation with me. So you were planning on murdering her before me, you murderous bitch. Humph. Alina is the one who killed her, so. Do you think burning that old hag was enough? You should at least left some for me. Fufu. Who said we only burned her? I used the skull of corruption to cast agony on her while she is burning. You really missed the good part. You cheater. We were going to kill her together. Haha, suck it. Wolfer and I started remembering the plans that we devised long ago to kill Grelod. Many years of planning, but I sadly couldn't wait for Wolf. I still have the memory in my brain, and I can view it on a light screen for him. Are you two fighting about how to kill an old lady in the most horrible way possible? Bjorna interfered. Yes. Wolf and I replied with a fire burning through our eyes. You guys are sick. I am going to see the girls. Jorna stood and went upstairs. Wolf and I kept talking together for a while, then decided to visit the orphanage together. The only one we could recognize in the place was Constance. She was one of the girls who lived in the orphanage with us, and she is a really kind person. We left her with a sum of money and promised to send a monthly donation to the place. We then inquired about our old friends who seemed to have visited the place before us. It also seemed that Akra was in Riften 1 month ago, and she came to see Constance. That Khajiit girl has grown up and became a traitor between Riften and Whiterun. After touring the city for some time with Wolfer and visiting some people, we returned to the inn and met up with the girls. So, what are we going to do now? Do you have anything left in Riften? Alina asked. As you already know, we finished our business with the guild and I made a grand move as Catatoskr. You also made the Saintess act, which was a really good show. And the party is still not over. I am having one last show in mind, a very unexpected show. Something only Jul can do. Oh, I am listening. Jul gave me her attention. You have magical spiders in the cube, right? I asked. Yep. How many? An army. A number? Alina asked. I can't tell, but it is too much, literally an army. Jul confirmed. Okay, how do you even keep them fed? They still didn't hatch, but I keep them all sealed, she said. Not bad. What kind of spiders do you have? Well, I have many jumping fire spiders, oil spiders, poison spiders, and slime spiders. I knew the first 3 kinds from the game, but... Slime spiders. What are slime spiders? They are failures and the majority of the spiders I have. At first, I wanted to make acid spiders, but their internals couldn't handle the acid and started turning it into slime. They eat and poop slime, so they are slime spiders. What kind of slime are we talking about? Oh, a very bad slime. It is not poisonous or anything, but it is extremely slippery and hard to handle. Also, when it dries, it turns into a very annoying glue. Master Nurelian took some of it to make those Gwent cards of yours. Oh, I remember now, the plastic-like substance. Good. We need all the slime spiders you have. That's plenty. I have a lot, so don't blame me if you couldn't handle them. We can always make anti-slime suit. Right, Alina? I am not sure what you want, but I guess I have no choice anyway, Alina said. Don't worry, it will be fun. Is it something naughty but heroic? Alina seemed excited. No, my fair lady. We are doing something evil this time. Oh. Alina seemed turned down. So, what are we going to do? Wulfr asked. I took out a large piece of paper from my ring and put it in front of them. It was a full detailed map of the Ratway. Just like the difference between the game and reality, the real Ratway is a maze that gained its name for a bloody good reason. We are going to flood the Ratway with slime spiders. We need to make the Thieves Guild busy with them while we complete our heist. And where is the target? I paused for a second to Wulfr's question. I then looked at the map and pointed at a certain building. The house of the Thieves Guild Master, the house of Mercer Fry. Chapter 271 Catatoskr 8. Our hearts and thoughts for the victims' families of Christchurch, New Zealand terror attacks. May God accept them with mercy and peace. The plan was put on action, and everyone had a role to do. Wulfr and John were the only two who knew Riften and could navigate in the Ratway, so they went in two teams. Team John and Alina went into the Ragged Flagon to make sure that Mercer was in the guild's hideout. John used the Eye of Magic spell that was unique to him and checked that the mission can be executed normally. He then mixed up with the guild and started a small celebration, saying that he is going to leave the town soon and wanted to have a proper goodbye this time. Even though the other members of the guild were wary of John, the unusual gifts he brought to them were enough to turn their heads around. Thieves may be used to expensive items, but their weakness comes with unique and rare items. John showed them an enchanted lockpick made of ebony that can be considered unbreakable, a dagger that causes no pain when it stabs someone, a potion that can make one see through clothes. That last one was taken by Delvin. John's unique gifts did the trick and really made the thieves forget their suspicions around him. While having a fun atmosphere in the Flagon, the slime spiders started to swarm the sewers. It was unusual to see the large frostbite or a horde of skeevers here in the Ratway, but the green slime spiders were indeed something new. The thieves in the Ragged Flagon and in the hideout all panicked and started fighting the spiders. Hey Delvin, when did such monsters appear in the Ratway? Fuck if I know. I have never seen such disgusting creatures since the time I was in Orsinium. I'll take Alina away from the Ratway and come deal with whatever those are. Fine, go. Team John and Alina managed to keep the guild in the Ragged Flagon while the slime spiders make everyone's life hard. The slime spiders were creeping while slime was dripping from them, causing a whole new level of mess. Once the thieves came into contact with that slime, their life became miserable. It was impossible to set foot on the ground with all the slime around, but our special anti-slime boots did the trick. The second team, Team Wulfr, Bjorna, Julliner and Nefertiti moved as followed. Nefertiti will carry the Haven Cube while Wulfr leads her around the Ratway in the route they decided on earlier. Julliner and Bjorna will stay inside the cube to prepare the slime spiders for hatching. The plan was for Wulfr and Nefertiti to spread the slime spiders while John and Alina distract the guild. Once the spiders flooded the Ragged Flagon, John and Alina started acting as they left the Flagon. John was careful to not attract any suspicions around him and double-checked that Mercer Fry was still in the guild's hideout. Once everything was clear, he rushed towards the meeting point. We all met at a certain section in the Ratway. Wolfer and Nefertiti seemed to be doing a good job. Human, too many gross. Well, keep it down a little. Now, let's start the second phase. This time, Wolf, Jorna and Alina were to go out of the Ratway and wait for us outside to do the last preparation. Joel, Nefertiti and I had to go complete the heist alone. The three of us moved as fast as we could to Riftweld Manor, a house gifted to Mercer by Maven Blackbriar and the place where he keeps the item I am after. As we arrived near the sewer system around Riftweld Manor, I was startled for a second. Damn, what happened here? What's going on? Joel asked. This part was clearly rebuilt once again. No, it was changed than what I used to know. What are you talking about? Joel asked again. See this wall here? This is not on the map. It is also enchanted with anti-magic, so I can't go through it. I thought you are the only one dump Nehem capable enough to enchant walls. Hey, I heard that, but you are right. Someone is as paranoid as me or even more can do that. I can break the wall, but that will make a mess. Also, we won't be able to make the remaining spiders pass through here. What should we do then? Let me think. I was considering breaking the enchantment on the wall, and then established it again, but that will take time. Homan, this wall is problem? Nefertiti asked. Yes. Give me greed. Fine. I just had to listen to her. She took greed that blended on her body, and she then walked towards a small drainage under the wall next to me. I could feel her location going rounds and rounds in her abnormal speed until she appeared on the other side of the wall. Brilliant! With greed on the other side, I could pretty much teleport where it is because it is a part of me after all. I disappeared from my location and appeared on the other side with Joel. Nefertiti was waiting for us there. Good job, girl. We were now beyond the wall and in the middle of some corridor. Left or right? Joel asked. Neither. It should have been forward. Are you sure your map is right? She asked. Positive. Not only that, this place wasn't like that from my memory. What do you mean? Remember when I took action to steal the bell from the Temple of Mara and attract the people to the temple? This place is where the corpses robbers used to smuggle them. I checked the place later to the accident, but it wasn't like that. I see. But how can an underground structure change that much? I was thinking about the same thing when an idea struck my mind. Could Mercer have done it that way? That is the only possible explanation, but would he really act too risky? I think he used that item. You are speaking too much gibberish, John. Sorry, I replied nonchalantly and looked at the map in my hand. I had now had to pinpoint the location I want and move based on it. That will be the best way to find it. I was sure I am going to find it there as it wasn't on Mercer, and I am sure he can't hide it from my eye of magic. It is possible to hide it in a non-physical form, but I am sure that the theory is too advanced for Mercer to understand. We started moving to the location where I think I can get a better access to the sewer tunnels under Riftweld Manor, and I wasn't off the mark. I was planning for this heist for too many years after all. There seems to be no way ahead, Joel said as we reached a dead end. I don't think anyone can seal of the sewers all for himself. He should at least leave some room open. Why would he? Do you really want to live in a house with a sealed sewer system? Oh, I see. That would be too stinky. We tried a tunnel after a tunnel until we finally found another drainage. The thing here is that Mercer was trying to link his house to the lake outside Riften while ignoring all the city's sewers. Still, he can't completely ignore it, and he had to at least let a room for it to pass by, else he would flood the sewers. These small drainages were easy for Nefertiti to go through while taking greed with her. Of course, there is no way on Nern I let the world's most esteemed cat to go through a stinky drainage. She would transfer to the shadow world, and would go through the other version of the drainage in that shadow world. Simple and safe. We finally got the signal from Nefertiti to teleport and went through the wall. Human, this room is full of traps. I looked around and checked carefully. No, there isn't. John, there is one just in front of you. Oh, you mean traps that kill people? Oh yes, this place is filled with those traps indeed. I remember this place from the game. We are currently under Riftweld Manor, and the place is really infested with all sorts of deadly traps. How did that person manage to fit all that number of traps in such a tight corridor? Jull asked. I looked at her and smiled mischievously. How did we manage to fit little John in s? Ouch! Okay, sorry. Damn, I was joking. Why did she turn so violent? How can we proceed? The place is shut tight and I think there are areas where magic can't work too. Wait, he can actually seal magic? With that item, many things are possible. It is a cheat item on a whole new level. Even the god Sotha Sil valued it greatly. Sotha Sil? Isn't that the guy who created the Haven Cube? The guy? For a half-dark elf, I am ashamed for you. Sotha Sil was one of the tribunal, an actual person with godlike powers. He was worshipped in Morrowind and he created Clockwork City, a realm out of space and time that can put any sort of modern technology to shame. This guy is straight out of a sci-fi comic book guy. Okay, pull back the nerd. What should we do now? Sigh. I am too large of a target for these traps and Nefertiti can't disable the mechanic. And that leaves me? Perfect. Jull readied herself and stretched her body. She then looked at the corridor that was filled with traps and started to calculate her movement. Here, you can equip Greed on your body. It will be able to draw energy from me when you are in a magic-sealed area and it will protect you. Fine. Greed spread itself on Jull and covered her head to toe. I then cast Hasten spell on it and waited for Jull to move. We have less than half an hour. You should go now. She nodded and walked the corridor. The first part was a pressure plate room that one wrong step may lead to a disaster. I really wanted to teleport but my magic was hard to pull out. If I gave myself a day, I can overpower the magicless room but it needs time. I controlled Greed to make Jull walk on the ceiling and avoid trouble. At the end of the room, Jull found a switch to stop the pressure plates from functioning. The second part was a ton of slicing blades and spike. Kinda mysterious how Mercer managed to install them. Jull performed a gravity-defying performance in avoiding those traps. The flexibility of her body is something that can't be achieved by just effort. She is a real spider lady. As she passed the second level of traps, she deactivated them from the end and I walked to her. But as I was walking, I stepped on a pressure plate that I couldn't notice. A spike came out from the left and another came from the right. With no time to dodge and no magic to support me, the only option was to block them barehanded, and so I did. Each hand was locked on a spike holding its body and pushing it back. John. Human. A struggle broke out and I could barely withstand the force behind the spike with my raw power. The muscles of my upper body were all in usage in the struggle and I unleashed the raw power of the 4th level iron bones, physique. With all the power in my hands, I pushed the spikes away and jumped out of harm's way. This was close. Are you alright? Yeah. Somehow. I looked back at the spikes that almost screwed me and let out a sigh of relief. It seemed Mercer had traps in his traps too. Kinda annoying to think that he can do all that with the help of an item. Julliner helped me up and we looked forward. There are no more traps until that door, let's just get this over with, she said while she pointed the door at the end of the corridor. As she was about to step forward, I helped her back. We are not out of the woods yet. Look at the walls. There are strange metal things on the walls of the last third of the corridor, seems suspicious enough for me. I took out a piece of cloth from the Haven cube, which barely functioned in a magic-sealed area, and threw it across the corridor. And as expected, invisible thin cutting wires. A terrifying trap. How can we walk across this? Joel asked. I see now. It was all obvious to me. The pressure plates from the first third disable the rest of the trap. Only Mercer knows how to walk them. I explained it to Joel. Damn. This is smart. Should we start from the beginning? She asked. No. This is another double trap. If we tried the pressure plates, even if we succeeded, we will leave traces behind. I think it is time to stop playing by Mercer's rules. Nefertiti, you can go through that by the shadow world, right? Yes. Take part of Greed to the other side behind that door. I made Greed into 2 plates and gave one to Nefertiti. She disappeared in the nearby shadow and reappeared behind the door. Once I felt her presence, I put all my power to use telepathy. Teleport through Greed. It was rough but easy to understand. She did what I said and used Greed as a medium through the shadow world. By aligning the 2 pieces of Greed, we made a shadow portal that connects 2 points in the real world through the shadow world. Now go. I pushed Joel through the piece of Greed. I have and jumped beside her. We appeared behind the door after that. It was a small room that I could feel my magic in. It had 2 doors and there were many items here and there. This was Mercer's secret room. We finally arrived. I stood up immediately and looked around me. Here must be what I am looking for, and here it is. Lying carelessly on a table beside some maps and note. The secret behind the bad luck of the Thieves Guild. The skeleton key. Chapter 272, The Skeleton Key. The 5,000 votes extra. The skeleton key. Just lying carelessly right there. My head blanked out for a second, but in the next, I snatched it like lightning from the desk. To throw such an item in such a place, what kind of idiot is her? This atop of a collection item. Something that its worth can't be measured with any amount of gold or gems. Between all the valuable things in this room, this skeleton key is the most important item. What is the skeleton key? Well, that's a hard thing to answer. Let's see. Imagine it at the master key of anything and everything, and if that is not enough for you, then I don't know what else is. It is an item that appeared on every main Elder Scrolls game and always created a lot of uproars. In the right hands or even the wrong hands, its powers are simply limitless. It is a Daedric artifact created by the Daedric Prince Nocturnal. In appearance, it doesn't always take the form of a key, and sometimes manifests as a lockpick instead. In its key form, it can be used to unlock any lock. As a lockpick, it is nigh unbreakable and can get past even the toughest lock. The artifact functions as a tool for unlocking all things, and by all things it means all things, physical and non-physical, and that includes portals, potential, magic, matter, power, and many unknown possibilities. Whatever that can be turned on or off is all possible. Want to make a no-magic zone? Then lock the magic in the zone. Want to make holes in walls? Then unlock the foundation of a certain sector in all by a key. Want to build a wall? Then do the opposite. The possibilities. My head started going left and right with that thing in my hand. I can do many things that the game didn't allow the player to do. The skeleton key took many appearances throughout the years, and this time it looked like a key with many projections and tips that vary in shape. The bow of the key was a black knob with blue markings, and seemed rather off for a key, but whatever. Still, the feeling it gave me was very mystical and profound. Between all the valuable things around here, you go for that thing. Joel's words woke me up from my state. It is what I am after, let's get out of here. As I said so, I walked away from the desk, but I heard the sound of something snapping. The drainages around the room started flooding its water, and the room's door got locked by a hidden mechanism. Mercer, you fuck! I cursed with anger, but I remembered that I don't need the door anyway. Nefertiti, I want you to go out and collect the other half of the greed, and activate the traps Jul deactivated. You are too greedy, human. One thing at a time. Nefertiti replied and disappeared. What should we do? Jul was a bit worried. I want you to fill the room with slime spider eggs and make sure that they hatch right away. And don't worry, I got this. I cast telepathy and tried to contact Alina. What took you so long? It wasn't as easy as I thought. Do it now. Vaughn. Alina, who was already outside, started to cast a custom spell that connects our magicka to each other. We created a magicka link, and I started to materialize it. Once we matched our wavelengths with each other, I started to cast teleport, but I had a good idea and I stopped right away. I looked at the skeleton key and... oh yeah! I used the key in on the magicka I released and unlocked the space. Bzzzt. Wow! It appeared. A real portal appeared. Through it, I could see the rooftop that Alina and was standing on. Hey! I waved at Alina, whose jaw dropped when she saw the portal. Oh look, it's John. Wolfer responded normally. I am sure he doesn't understand what I did. Human, I am done. Okay, good. Let's go. I grabbed Nefertiti and Juliner, then pushed them through the portal. As I made sure I forgot nothing, I went through it after them. I looked behind me and I saw a circular rift in space. I don't even know how to cast a portal spell, and I just did it with the skeleton key. I put the key through the rift and locked the space once again. Bzzzt. WWW, what did you just do? What that thing? Alina grabbed me right away. Oh, this? Long story. I'll explain later. Wolf, did you distribute the slime spider eggs on all the locations? Yes, they will have to deal with them for at least a week or so. Good job. The spiders may go outside the ratway, but they are harmless in most cases. Job well done, guys. 3 days have passed since the heist on Mercer's house. Each day, I went down in the ragged Flagon and helped with exterminating the slime spiders. In the second day, Mercer's face was so pale and he didn't look well at all. He was reading a few books behind his desk in the office. He started asking questions about magic and then asked me about books about famous artifacts. Luckily, he was guided for a book called Tamrielic Lore, written by Yegrim Bagarn, the last living dwarf. The book mentions the most famous artifacts in the world, and I could see that Mercer was reading on page 366. That is the page that talks about the skeleton key. I remember it mentioning that a limitation was placed on the key by wizards who sought to protect their storehouses, were that the key would never be the property of one thief for too long, eventually disappearing. This line seemed to have caused Mercer to almost cough out blood. Well, that enchantment is true, but it was erased at some point in time. Still, that is a common theme among many artifacts. King Orgnum's coffer is the same, an artifact that can produce gold until it mysteriously vanishes once it makes its user rich enough to shame the wealthiest of merchants. Oriel's bow and shield also were the same, as the bow would disappear if its energy is overused, and the shield would abandon the owner in the hour of most need. The same went to the staff of Magnus, that abandoned its owner if he became too strong for the balance to be broken. This was a really common theme, as only people with strong fates can hold these artifacts long enough. That line that made Mercer made an unsightly face. Well, I don't care anymore. The key is mine and I kept it in a containment chest. Something that even Shadow, a remnant of a high-ranking immortal spirit, described it as a tricky toy. As long as I don't catch the eye of Nocturnal, the Daedric prince who owns the skeleton key, I guess I am mostly fine. I also asked Shadow before I steal the key, and he told me that the temperament of Azura is different than Nocturnal. Azura might be a prideful goddess who hates mischievousness, but her sister Nocturnal is quite the opposite, as she actually enjoys a good heist, so I might even get blessed by her for stealing the key from Mercer. All for the good then. I decided to leave Riften after the city started to calm from the 3 major accidents I caused in 1 week. I know. I am a famous disaster child that caused trouble for everyone before even getting born. But this far, I butchered the storyline of both the usual storyline of the Dark Brotherhood by killing Grelod and the storyline of the Thieves Guild by stealing the skeleton key. Things can be the way they were for the Dark Brotherhood, as joining them requires killing someone they were going to kill, and oh man, I know plenty of those. The Thieves Guild storyline will be the problem, but I am sure that it will be far easier with Mercer losing the skeleton key. I actually messed up most of the game's storyline by being just rebuilding Winterhold and messing up with the Empire and the Stormcloaks. Still, I don't regret it. Fate is a bitch and I know it won't disappoint me. Now I was sitting in the Haven Cube while the rest of my group were traveling outside. I was studying the skeleton key with all my heart and mind. First, I am super interested in the original enchantment that the Daedric Prince Nocturnal put on the key. To speak of Daedric artifacts is to speak of the Daedric princes who created them. How so? A Daedric artifact is practically part of the Daedric prince that they sent from Oblivion to Mundus. To make it easier, it is the same relationship between me and greed, an object with a strong soul and mind that can be linked to another being to act as some sort of spiritual tools. So to say, Nocturnal is also known as the Night Mistress, is a Daedric prince whose sphere is the night and darkness. She is frequently depicted as a female accompanied by jet black ravens, which are said to have the power of speech. Her realm in Oblivion is Evergloam, a realm of twilight and shadows. Her artifacts other than the skeleton key are the Grey Cowl, which was worn by the most infamous thief ever lived, the Grey Fox, the one I inspired my Red Cat Cowl and Catatoskr title from. The other artifact is the Bow of Shadows, which grants its user invisibility and speed. I read many books about Nocturnal and readied myself to read the enchantment on the skeleton key. The people who attempted to do so before are said to have never ever reached any good result, and some even turned mad while trying. I sat to meditate before doing so to keep my mind in a calm state. I then took the skeleton key and let my consciousness into the key. A second, 2, 3, the enchantment started to show itself in my sea of consciousness bit by bit. It was vast, like the biggest enchantment I have ever seen in my entire life. Reading it is going to be a hurdle, or so I thought. Once I picked the first line I went like, Its first script said, 0110101010101100100110110011001010101010101. A binary code. Chapter 273 Unlocking Stuff. I changed my mind about the binary code. I wanted to use 1 and 2 instead of 1 and 0 because the magic script alphabet in the wiki has no zeros, so why don't we just make a 0? A binary code. If I was not in a mental focusing state, my reaction should have been more physical. But still, a binary code? How on earth can that even be possible? Wasn't that just... I see. So it is like this, huh? In the magic script code that we mages use to write magics and apply enchantments, there are 4 not used characters. These are 1, 0, Q and X. We mages struggle to fit enough commands on a certain spell, Actually, what makes spells harder than each other is how the script is written. But a binary code, fuck. You can pretty much give whatever command you want in the script of the spell without worrying about the nature of the spell. It is what gives the skeleton key its nature, that is open to all possibilities. Still, it is very tricky. Every 8 numbers in the binary code represent one single character. I, as a mage, find that simplifying a spell is very important rather than making it 8 times longer. The binary code solves the problem of limitation but very large to apply. A capable enchanter can use it to make a weapon that can scare the enemy and calm him at the same time, but the amount of script needed to be written is way over the roof. The script written on the skeleton key was written by a goddess, and she was clearly flexing by creating an overpowered item. Sigh. There was another enchantment that translates the output of the binary code, and it seems simple. It just says that 1 is true, lock, positive, and 0 is false, unlock, negative. After bypassing the shock that the skeleton key's enchantment was made of a binary code, I pulled my consciousness out of the key and kept staring at it. System, do I have anything to read the binary code within my memories? You have learned how to do so in high school. Would you like to view the information? Yes, please. I put my hand on a light screen beside me, and the images from my past life started showing up on them. There was not much, but I at least started to remember how to do it. Good, the enchantment on the key seems readable now, but I am not sure if reading it will change the fact that I can't apply it. The reason was simple. There is a thing called the law of firsts. It is what restricts the enchantments that mortals can place on an item to the limit of 2 enchantments. This was mentioned in a book called Twin Secrets. That mentions that an enchanter met a dragon in Morrowind, and the dragon taught him the reason why the mortals can't apply more than 2 enchantment. The book said, for men and elves the limit is 2. The dragon said that men and elves have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and 2 ears. I asked why that mattered, and the beast just laughed. The enchanter must weave 1 enchantment with the left hand while weaving the other with the right. The eyes must focus on 1 and only 1 enchantment, while the ears only pay attention to the other. When I asked about my legs, the beast laughed again. It is hard to just do that process using a binary code. This skeleton key is simply made by the power of an original spirit after all. I sighed and put that at the back of my head. Maybe one day I will be able to use the binary code to enchant, but there will be great limit. Also, about using the skeleton key, it also doesn't come for free. There are restrictions, and these are magica. Even for a person who is overflowing with magica like me, I would rather use a soul gem to provide the key with energy rather than using mine. This is how Mercer used the key after all. There is also another restriction. One must know what they are going to use the key on. You can't just go, hey, let's unlock my talent of magica, or let's break the curse that causes me not to sleep. Knowledge is essential when using the skeleton key. And here comes the first thing I want to unlock. I am going to unlock some restrictions on my potential. Ever since I started meditating to cultivate a sense energy from the Anuic and the Padamic energies, I discovered that I need to use a certain number of energy points and energy channels, acupuncture points and meridians. The number of the usable energy points determined what energy channels I am going to use in meditating, and here comes my problem. When I started, I could only use 22 energy points, and the number have risen to 23 once I broke through the 3rd level, Iron Bones stage, Dragon Frame Realm. Now as I have gained the skeleton key, I can do much more. I am going to unlock all these points and unleash my meditation potential its bestest. And so I began. Taking the most comfortable position, I started to meditate. I focused my attention on circulating the energy and on the key. Once I reached a certain point, I started including the key in the process and gave it a command to unlock the energy point. Suddenly, as if has gained consciousness on its own, the skeleton key is shot up and aimed itself towards me, then stabbed towards my heart. I was terrified at first, but I sensed a keyhole forming on my chest. The key fit itself in and click. Seriously? The sound of an energy point opening is a click? I wanted to cuss, but I started to feel a new energy activity around my heart, and the meditation I was performing became a bit better. The key shot out and went to another energy point, formed a keyhole and click. Sigh. I regained my focus again and the key kept going. It took me a lot of time, but I was clearly able to clear all the 64 energy points. The speed of my meditative training soared up and I felt my bones breaking. Shit. Another breakthrough. Breakthroughs in the Iron Bones stage are so fucked up. My whole damn skeleton gets so damn painful. I barely suppress my screams each time, but this time was truly unbearable. Groan. I barely held it together, but it was worse than before. The process that should take a few minutes almost is taking more. The reason was clear: this was not a single breakthrough, this was 2 breakthroughs. And here comes the second. Brace for impact. Groan. It hurt like a bitch, and from my back on top of all. These bone-breaking strokes of pain are the parts where I should keep my meditation focus. Think of it as minor tribulations between the small levels. I only wonder how bad will it become on higher levels. I calmed myself and started slowing my meditation so that I can wake up. My vision was clearer than before when I opened my eyes and my senses were heightened. I could tell that jumping up 2 levels in one go is incredible indeed. I am now at the 6th level, Iron Bone stage, Dragon Frame Realm. I can summon 6 fire WRMs from my soul, but I am not good at managing them yet. I was in my private space in the Haven Cube, and Alina was sitting just across the room meditating. I used telepathy and talked to her. Keep calm, it is just me. I want you to keep focusing on meditation and not get distracted with whatever happens. She can't answer me anyway, so I guess not stopping her training is an approval. I took the skeleton key that was floating in front of me and sat behind her. As I put my palm on her back, I started sensing her energy points and channels and how she meditates. I will assist you now, so don't panic. As I send her that telepathic message, I readied the skeleton key and started focusing it on her energy points. It did as I expected and formed a keyhole on her body. When I placed it in the keyhole, the click sound came. I kept following the energy points on Alina's body. She had fewer open energy points than me, around 18 on her own. Her meditative training was having to face strong resistance at the bottleneck of the Dragon Frame realm. I spent almost 2 hours sitting behind her and opening her energy points. Once she could use all her 64 energy points, massive energy shot out from her and she started to break through into the Dragon Frame realm. Her skin reddened and her heat increased, mist surrounded her and pain appeared on her face. These are the signs. She was doing well too. I sat back away from her to regain the energy I used to open all her energy points and to watch over her. Another hour passed and she seemed to be finishing up. All that was left was for her to spit out black impure blood, and she will be. Groan. And here it comes. Alina spat the black blood and kept coughing. I know the feeling. This is incredible. Congratulations. I sat beside her to calm her down. Her body was going through a strike of heat after breaking through the limit of the normal people. As she cooled off, she looked at me with wide eyes. You are my hero. And I got hug. Well, you are welcome. She took her time to calm down and then hammered me with questions about what I did. She is a really curious fellow. Don't you want to know what more can that key do? Just do an absurd thing, please. Come. I took her hand and walked across the room where we keep our private stuff. In a certain place, we found what we were looking for. The egg? She asked. What else? Let's unseal it. I merely put the skeleton key on the malachite container that was sealing the egg and a keyhole formed. Wow. Alina was impressed. It seemed that the seal needed a considerable amount of power, so I used a soul gem to support the process and click. For a key, it has quite the sound effect, isn't it? Anyway, the malachite broke open and the seal was lifted. As Alina was about to celebrate, cracks appeared on the egg. Wait, is it breaking? She started to panic. It is hatching, you dolt. Go call everyone. Chapter 274 from Summerset. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra chapter. 8,000 vote. 5 humans and 1 cat in a humanoid form gathered around one egg watching it hatch. The egg, that was larger than even an egg of an ostrich, was showing strong signs of life. Alina was sitting in and singing a song of life from the druidic teachings while warming the egg with magicka. Every one of us was revealing our thoughts about what's in the egg out loud. My thoughts are a giant sea serpent. Wolf. Wanna bet? John. I told you it is not a reptile, Wolfer. Even though it can be a cliff racer. Jorna. A cliff racer? They were whipped out on the hands of a Dunmare saint. No one wants them back to life ever again, they are nightmares. Jull. It is not any of that, it is something that fluffs. John. Good guess, Homan. Nefertiti. I just want it to be a dragon so bad. John. You know it's impossible. Dragons don't lay eggs and have nothing to do with mating. Jull. No wonder Alduin wants to destroy the world. John. Nice one. Wolf. Fist bump. Can it be a new kind of cats? Nefertiti. I like the idea. John. The rest. Or maybe it can be a phoenix. John. What's that? Wolf. A mystical bird that doesn't exist. Jorna. There is no mention to a phoenixes in the games so far, so I can't possibly make them. Don. Oh hey there. John. How long will the baby take to come out, Homan? Nefertiti. It is coming out, look. As soon as Wolfer said so, the egg shell broke open slightly and from the gab, a loud baby bird shrieking came out. Look, it's a beak. It's a baby bird. Jull said. Everyone around turned silent while watching the egg hatch. The bird inside started breaking the shell bit by bit slowly. Once it took a few minutes breaking a part of the egg horizontally, it started to push out. The egg snapped open very slowly, and we took a tiny glimpse of what's inside. The things we could tell about the chick was that its size is that of a full-grown cat, which is very large for a chick. Its body was featherless and so pink, it was really a newborn creature. All of us were making AoE when we saw it. Alina stopped singing and looked closely at the baby bird. It pushed the eggshell more and at last, we finally could see its appearance. What is that? Wolfer exclaimed. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Jull seemed to be ignorant about the creature too. Alina seemed to have an idea, but Jorna and I could tell what it is right away. It had large dark blue eyes that were seen under its newborn eyelids, and also its beak was dark-colored. Some feathers that were still wet, they seemed to be snow-white, but on its head, there were some blue feathers. That is nothing odd, as the oddities haven't even started yet. First, its size, which was really large, but we have already noticed that. Second, it has ears, large ones growing on the top sides of its head, unlike the other birds which have them in a lower position without even extending out of their bodies like this bird. Third, it had a tail, a long one that resembles that of animals. Last, it had 4 limbs and 2 small wings in its back. A griffin! Jorna and I were dumbstruck right away. There is no way a griffin would appear here in Skyrim. The others looked at us waiting for an explanation, but we were too busy wrapping our heads around the situation. A griffin? Should that be a creature that only native to Summerset Isles? Alina asked. I remember John mentioning something about griffins in the past. So that's one. Wolfer looked at the little bird with curiosity. How can that creature be here? And in the hands of the blood sails above all? I wondered. That's not it. Griffin eggs are impossible to hatch under normal circumstances. Bjorna wondered too. Well, we have a favored child of Kine. As Kine is the mother of man and beast, then it is pretty normal. She was singing for it every day and kept heating it with magicka. I said. Oh, I see, but how did this came to Skyrim? She asked. Don't ask me. You are the one who grew among the firemans, so you at least should have a clue. I said. Not at all. All I know that some rare breeds of the griffins disappeared after the Oblivion Crisis. It was a massive loss for the Dominion's military force, she said. The Dominion? I see. That's why the Thalmor were pushing the attack on Japhet's Folly around and handed a list of demands to the East Empire Company. I remembered something. Don't tell me. The Thalmor are looking for that baby griffin? Alina panicked. Bjorna and I sighed. Even if they are, it doesn't matter now. It hatched to you and there is no way it will recognize anyone else as a companion other than the person who sang to it. Bjorna said. We all looked at the baby griffin and sighed. Griffins? Well, that's an unexpected one. Griffins, or griffins to some, are large and carnivorous flying creatures with the body of a lion and the wings, talons, and beak of an eagle. They appear in Summerset Isle. The city of Sunhold has a live griffin as its mascot. Armored griffins are also ridden by the Welkanar Griffin Knights in Cloudrest. Griffins aren't known to seek out mortal flesh, but will defend their territory fiercely. These creatures normally can't be tamed, but that doesn't mean they can't be domesticated, even though it is hard as hell from what I read. First, one must acquire a griffin egg without killing the mother, good luck with that, and it must be hatched with magic. The thing that Alina did, which was singing for the egg and providing it with magicka since we found it, was the main reason why it hatched right away. There is no other way to hatch a griffin's egg. And after that, the one who hatched the egg, Alina in that case, should be the one responsible for it from now on. We will provide you with knowledge support as your family, I said. I can tell you what to feed it. I think John has a lot of beef liver, right? Bjorna said. Yeah, I do. My Alexandrian beef liver recipe can bring a dead dragon back to life. You can have some raw liver to feed the little thing. I approved. So you guys aren't helping more than that? Alina asked while tilting her head. Bjorna and I seem to be obviously bailing out. You read that book too, cousin? I did, and I am not getting close to that thing. What is that about? Wolfer asked. Do you know why griffins grow only on Summerset? No. There is no particular reason, but think of it as a match made by the universe. There is no arrogant folk more than a high elf of Summerset, and there is no arrogant creature more than a griffin. Perfect match, I would say, I said. Also, be careful with the bites, Bjorna said. Alina seemed to be not listening to us as she caressed the baby griffin with the back of her hand. It is a male, so I am not sure what to name him, Alina said. I thought it would be a female bird, so I prepared a few names. You can name it after you feed it. The firemans who are protected by the Hawk Guardian do that. You can ask Uncle Herman for help, Bjorna said. Also, Master Nurelian and Master Faralda are the only high elves we trust, so we can ask them too, Jelinar said. Well, I am glad things working out well, but let's finish things up here, I said as we started to busy ourselves with what we have. Alina has to take care of the baby griffin, so she was going to be busy for a lot of time. I also want to open the 64 energy points to Jelinar, Wolfer and Bjorna and go prepare dinner. Believe it or not, only Wolfer and I can cook around here. As for the journey we are on, Wolfer told me we stopped somewhere in the woods west of Riften. Our destination was my old teacher's place. As soon as I finished all the tasks I had, I went out of the cube and started traveling alone at dawn. At this pace, I should ambush the old bastard before he wakes up, or so I thought. Swoosh! A terrifying arrow shot towards me with a thick hostile intent. All of the hair on my body stood up, and I jumped away from the flame Atronak horse I was riding. The arrow hit the Atronak and obliterated it in a second. Damn! All I could do is to jump behind a rock and take a bow out. This old fool woke up earlier than I thought. Hey, old man, don't shoot me, goddammit! It's me. I shouted, but no one answered. I took out a good bow from the cube and notched an arrow. I tried to shoot from cover, but my arrow was hit by another arrow. This old bones. It's John. Who? An old voice replied. It is me, John Dare, Nurina's son. Huh! Shit. Can you even hear me? What? This old man can't even hear anymore. How can he shoot so well? I am coming out, I said as I raised my hands. I walked out of cover and walked forward slowly. There seem to be many traps around the area, but I can avoid them all. After all, this man taught me about that. Froki, come on, old man. It is me, John. I called for him, but he didn't seem to be answering. A giant? I heard him wondering. Seriously? After all we have been through? You can't even recognize the most handsome young man on Nirn. I was wronged badly. Oh, I heard that idiocy somewhere before. There was that boy, I don't remember his name. The voice came from behind me. I jumped right away and saw an old man walking slowly with a bow and a few arrows in hand while being camouflaged by grasses and leaves. It is me. I am that kid you don't remember. Oh, John, wait. He knocked an arrow again. Are you a giant? No. Have you eaten or been eaten by a giant? No. Who are you again? I'm John. Oh, right. You look familiar. Can you even see? Not well. Then how can you aim like that? I was irritated by the unreasonable old man. Shooting doesn't need aiming? You city rats don't even know that? You know what, I am not even taking any of that anymore. I finally snapped. Hee. Follow me, kid. Froki walked past me while laughing. This guy is the most unreasonable old man I ever met. Froki Wettedblade, my combat mentor for 5 years. I didn't want to name the griffin just yet, so I am open for suggestions. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.